and tap it over that front line of the return team, and that's exactly what they do here. Sikeston is going to let this bounce, and there was a slight chance Farmington could get down there and recover it. In fact, they were hustling for the ball right there as Barron Owen if that thing doesn't bounce sideways, if it just bounces up or in, Farmington might recover that.
I think that's a very iffy play by Sikeston, not retracing back up, because they saw the kick before where the kid had a chance to catch it. He didn't fair catch it on the offsides. But that's going to be something that if he can get that ball to go in the air, it may come back almost as if it is a pooch to the front line without those front five, knowing that the ball is right behind him.
Pierce Baker's the quarterback for Sikeston, and he's got Kenneth Holcomb right behind him. Holcomb with 316 yards on the year. That's 79 per ball game. Baker can run and pass. He's going to send a man in motion. That's Keon Atkins, and he'll give it to that single setback right there in Kenneth Holcomb, and Holcomb is able to nudge his way forward for maybe 2 yards. The centers, Marion Pulley, Demarius Brown, and James Hughes are the guards. Brody Young and Michael Conway, the starting tackles. We'll see Kadarius Love and Will Lape as starting wide receivers, and then as Atkins, Daryl Jordan going to be one of the tight ends there as well. Gave him just a yard right there. Line of scrimmage is the 42 for Sikeston. You've got Baker back in that shotgun. He'll send a man in motion wide to the right side. That's Love, and he just go ahead and he's going to keep it right there. A gain of 2. That might have been a late hit right there as Farmington came just a little bit late to the party. Isaac Owens was down on the ground after Baker seemed like he was already tackled.
You know, that's something you can't. Isaac's a young sophomore. He's earned his right to be on the field. You just got to be smart right now. He's already on his way to the ground. This is a game where a single penalty like that, we're going to have some turnovers most likely. We're going to have some situations. We've already had some weird plays take place. You can't put yourself in that position and give them 15 extra yards in a game like this.
This is a big game for Farmington just in terms of conference. You win a thriller at Poplar Bluff by 3 points. Then you battle Jackson tough. But this is one on homecoming at home. You really feel like you got to have, and then of course you're going to have a tough tussle, of course, with Cape anytime. That'll be down the road a little bit. Here's the snap back to Barker. He's looking down the field, and this one's jumped and picked by Tatum at the 28. Tatum's taking it down the field. He's at midfield, down to the 40. He's got a convoy with him to the 30, to the 20, to the 10, to the end zone. It's a return of 73 yards on the pick 6 that time by Double T, Tatum Tinsley. And the Knights are on top by 2 scores, 12-zip, 9-10 remaining in the first frame.
You know, we said, are they going to be willing to throw the ball tonight? And he had a guy, and I think he just underthrew it due to the ball condition because the guy was about 7 yards behind Tatum, and Tatum jumped the route. He saw the ball released, knowing it wasn't going to make it there.
Boy, did Tatum ever read that thing and get a beat on it. And, Tatum is a guy, too, that we saw get on the varsity field as a freshman, and a little bit like Dry, he was a $150. And now he's listed at 195, and he hasn't lost a step.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the weight room's done great. It was a bad snap there, Chad, bobbled snap they could never even get a hold of.
And Brett Dry goes down. So Farmington fails on a pair of conversions, but Farmington's got 2 scores, one on offense, one on defense. 9-10 remaining in the first frame. It's Farmington 12, Sikeston nothing. We've got your kickoff on the other side of this timeout on Parkland Sports Live.
The Department of Mental Health for the state of Missouri is seeking an advanced practice nurse to fill a position on their East-Southeast Regional Forensics mobile team. This position includes daytime travel, a flexible work schedule with remote work options available, at a salary of $130,000 annually, and tremendous benefits. This opening will not last long. To apply for the advanced practice nurse position or any other with the Department of Mental Health, please call 573-218-6800 or go to dmh.mo.gov. The state of Missouri is an equal opportunity employer. We celebrate diversity and are committed to creating an inclusive environment for all employees.
We'll head down to the field coming up after the kickoff. Farmington takes one back on a pick 6, 73 yards by Tatum Tinsley. The Knights going to bounce this one to the return man. It's down on the ground. but it looks like Sikeston will recover, and that's right in front of Mike Reeves down there. Well, Mike, you saw Farmington bruise their way down in the field with a running game, and you saw a pretty nifty play from Tatum Tinsley as well.
Well, a couple of things, and I'll go kind of back to the back and work forward. I think on the play that every kind of tilted things, the bobbled snap, Sikeston grabs it, runs in. I really think Dry had already quit on the play. I think he saw what the officials were doing. I don't think that happens without him being aware that play was going to be dead. The touchdown run, what a remarkable cut at midfield. Jake, you mentioned it. It was a terrific cut. And then on the interception, strictly a ball underthrown. Guys, what I wonder, the wind's behind you. Do you try to compensate a little too much and think, I got the wind behind me, I'll take a little off? Well, it ended up in 6 going the other way.
And Tatum read that thing and did certainly take it back. That's a give to Kenneth Holcomb right there, and maybe a yard. Scott Fripp, Isaac Owens, Colin Winch, Corbin Phillips, Chase Buchanan along that defensive front. You've got Casey McLean in the middle of the whole thing as the backer. He's flanked by Connor Rice and Caleb Leask. Brett Dry, Ian Zoner, the corners, Josh McCarthy, and then Tatum Tinsley, who picked it off and ran it back, the other starting safety. Baker's back and throws the out route, and if he caught that, that is sensational. He did. He hauled it in the driving ring. Daryl Jordan dives with one hand and gets the feet down. You don't see that at the high school level very often.
No, you don't. And that guy's got a pretty stinking good build to him, too. So you look like a fullback coming out into the flat to catch that. One-handed tiptoe sideline to pull that in wet conditions is pretty tremendous.
Daryl Jordan with just his second catch of the year, and it was a dandy. He gained 5 yards right there, and now it's Baker scrambling and looking for somewhere to get through. Gains just a yard, so he avoids the sack, but doesn't get close to the first down right there as the Farmington defense had clamped around him. Cason McLean hauls him down. Cason was he was about 2 feet from getting his first sack of the year.
And, you got to have sure foot. I mean, I know turf is a lot better as far as the mud conditions. You don't have to deal with that. But it's still slick. I mean, any type of turf field you get on, you got to be able to pound your feet, and that's what we always tell kids. You got to get to a duck walk, make sure you're broke down, because otherwise you're going to be on ice skates out there.
Special teams has been a little dicey so far, so we'll see what this punt does from Gadberry. Luke Gadberry, a senior, so he's got the experience, and he grabs it with one hand, but now Farmington rushes him and brings him down. So he had to go after that snap, grabbed it with one hand, but Coy Fripp tracked him down, and a big special teams turn. And right now, Jake, Farmington's winning this thing on all 3 levels.
Yeah, and, I mean, the punter made a great play. He one-handed snagged that, but by the time he could gather it and bring it back in, kudos to this special teams unit on this punt rush. They got through in 3 different areas that actually really corralled him. He had no which way to turn his body to get it off. But if you can get a punt off with your back facing the north on this field, that ball could probably set a record on how far that ball is going to travel tonight.
Line of scrimmage for Farmington is the Sikeston 26. They could put a 3-touchdown margin between themselves and Sikeston if they could score on this short field, and they give it off to McLean, but it's going to be a false start against the Knights. We'll go down to the field now. And we were talking with Mike Reeves before this thing. We said, what are all those students doing here a half hour before the game in driving rain? And they've come out to support their team, Mike.
It's really remarkable given the conditions and what's going on here tonight. And they are loud. They are boisterous. They are into the game. Tip of the cap to all the students who have come and made this. Hey, we don't care if it's raining or not. We're going to have fun. And by the way, I told you earlier, the rain wasn't a big factor in this thing now. The rain is now a factor along with the wind. It's awesome down here, boys.
Well, the student body from Sikeston just got into the backfield. Demarius Brown comes up with the sack right there for the Bulldogs. But we saw Farmington have a few problems with that mesh point at Jackson. And that time there was a little bit of indecision. But I'll tell you what, you got 3 or 4 white jerseys breathing down your neck. It's hard to do anything.
Well, especially if you're Brett, probably the first thing going through your head is secure the ball and then worrying about a mesh or instead of catch and mesh at the same time.
So Dry has the ball come loose from him again. It's the second time that the snap has hit him and then bounced off. Mike's observation said, well, the play was really dead, and Dry knew it anyway on the first time, but that one almost cost him on a turnover. And now it's 3rd down for Farmington and just about Park Hills for the first down.
And something was off there because Brett actually waved his left hand for some type of motion, and as soon as he turned his head to wave, whatever happened, the ball snapped and bounced his face mask. There's just a little miscommunication. You're up 2 scores right now. I mean, you've done a great job up to this point, but you got to make sure, especially kicking into the wind, you don't falter.
McCarthy goes in motion, and the lead blocker becomes McLean. McCarthy gets to the left edge, now to the 40, dives down to across the 30 and down nearly the 26-yard line. So he gets 12 of the yards back. And even with 4th and 10, you're at the spot of the field you're going for it here.
Oh, you have to. I mean, usually this is a spot where Ian Zahner comes on. You're probably trying to get a field goal, a 30, 35-plus yard field goal here. At this point in the game, kicking into this win, it's nonsense. 4th and 10. Maybe you freeze. You haven't froze yet. Maybe you give him a hard count, get 4th and 5 set up.
Could call it 4th and 11 as they mark him just a little bit short of where I spied him to go down at. And just what Dr. Jake ordered right there, as you go with motion and hard count at the same time. And it's exactly what the Knights wanted, to turn a 4th and 11 into a 4th and 6 right here as Sikeston jumped. So
when you run triple option, that's ideal because you got to time that mesh point.
And a timeout now by, well, who? Timeout on the field. It looks like the officials are communicating. Looks like neither team actually took a timeout, but the officials are communicating here. That gives us a chance to thank some of our sponsors like Matt Stroud Excavating of Farmington, Spokes Pub and Grill for rolling good times in Farmington, and Ryan Blankenship Insurance Agency, RBIBBrokerage.com. 4th and 6 for Farmington. They're going to test out over to the right side. This is McCarthy. Breaks a tackle, tries to spin out of another one, and then dives forward for a first down. A gain of 8 by McCarthy right there, and he had to get by 2 tacklers to do it. That happened right in front of our man, Mike Reeves, down there. And Mike, what an individual effort. It was blocked up early, but McCarthy had to do something extra special to get that first down for the Knights.
Oh, what was so incredible is that hand went down short of the line to gain, but that hand was just able to keep him balanced enough that he could then dive forward for the extra 2 yards. That was a remarkable and a terrific athletic play.
Tremendous play by McCarthy. Rice is the motion man this time. They'll go to McLean. McLean up the middle now. Breaks a tackle, shoves a man off of his hip, and gets down near the 6-yard line. So a gain of nearly 9 by Cason McLean. He's got 4 carries now and 73 yards rushing. He's got a touchdown as well, the only offensive touchdown for Farmington. Tinsley had a 73-yard interception return, and the Knights are, well, they're going to try to go on top by 3 scores here, 4:19 and counting down. Here in our first frame, Farmington 12 and Sikeston nothing. McCarthy comes in motion. Looks like he's a lead blocker in the formation behind his left guard, and Farmington trying to push McLean into the end zone. They won't get him there, but they will get the first down on a gain of 6 yards. That'll make it a 1st and goal for Farmington at the 1-yard line. And Jake, whether it's been McLean or McCarthy, the common denominator here is the play of that offensive line.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, and they're doing a great job not only of timing their blocks, they're doing a great job of reaching outside to get McCarthy free, which is huge because once you get a reach or 2 inside of you can come back to your counter.
Dry under center. He fumbles the football. He's all the way back at the 10, and now Farmington taking a look at a 2nd and goal from the 10. 3rd fumbled snap we've seen, the first one that we've seen under center. But Mike Reeves, you're down there on the field. Are these weather-related problems right now for the Farmington offense? Seems like that's the only thing stopping them right now.
Guys, I honestly don't think the last 2 have been. I think it's all timing and not being in sync whenever you're wanting the snap versus when you get it. I don't think they're weather-related. Now, a couple of things that have happened tonight have appeared to be a little bit weather-related. Not those last 2. I think the last 2 were just mistakes that would have happened under any conditions.
Split backs with McCarthy and McLean. Option play right side. And Dry just bumps into a teammate and falls down. He gains 2 yards.
That's tough because now you went to a double back set to where you have the option to go either way with that triple option.
And I like that formation.
That was beautiful because it was set up perfect to the weak side here because they were outmanned on the offensive side going to the boundary. They were overplaying the strong side with that motion, and unfortunately McLean and Dry's feet got tied up.
And there was open room.
It was almost a walk-in for McLean if he pitched it.
3rd and goal from the 8-yard line. Farmington had a 1st and goal at the 1 before they fumbled backward. McCarthy goes in motion, gets the ball, cuts in behind McLean, puts his head down, drives toward the 5. He's able to gained 4 yards, but this will put Farmington in a 4th and goal from the 5. It's tough to kick in this weather, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you do. I really, in this position, you've went for a hard count 5 plays ago. You've had some really muffed plays. I think you hard count them again, try to get half the distance here, get to a 4th and 2.
So Farmington going to put 2 wides to the right side. They've got a tight end, Tinsley, off to the left. He's going to come in motion. That's McCarthy, beg your pardon, coming over for the slot. They want to read the defense. Now look over to the sideline and see if they want to change the play. 10 on the play clock, 1:50 and counting down in the first quarter, and the Knights on top 12-0 on this 4th and goal just inside of the 5-yard line. McCarthy in motion again, becomes a lead blocker, and Farmington now whistles for the timeout, and we'll step aside with them for 30 seconds. 1:42 remaining here in the first quarter. Farmington with a 4th and goal from the 5. We're back after this on Parkland Sports Live.
Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College is ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs are all about getting to work and making things happen. Whether you thrive on fixing, building, or just plain problem solving, they've got a pathway for you. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. You'll gain the practical skills and real-world experience needed to thrive in today's job market. Take the first step to a fulfilling career in a Mac Tech program. Apply today at mineralarea.edu.
If you're We're back on Parkland Sports Live. Chad Speaker here talking it over with the coach, Jake Whitener. And Jake, you said, hey, you fooled him once already. Let's see if we can do it again and kind of close the gap on the end goal situation. Then that opens the playbook a little bit.
And with that turnover on the punt, you know, it took 9 plays for him to get down to the 1-yard line.
Pierce Baker has Kenneth Holcomb behind him. He's got a lead blocker out there, and Daryl Jordan, and they're going to catch this quarterback right there at the goal line. Baker's able to just lean out of the end zone, and I think they captured him right around the 1-yard line for a loss of a yard. Whether the Knights can slam the door on this defensive possession, that would be huge.
And this is huge anyway because he's had 1 completion on the sideline on the 5 and out. You've already picked him once. You know you may rattle him a little bit given the situation, circumstance. You bring a little heat here and you press on the outside, man up. There's a good chance you may get away with the safety here.
So the quarterback back in the end zone. You've got Baker taking the snap with his heels in the end zone. And he does give it off to his running back. And once again, Sikeston is able to just get outside of the end zone, but then shut down right around the 1. That's Chase Buchanan coming off the end right there. And that was Ken Holcomb just nosing it back to the line of scrimmage.
You know, and the one thing to keep an eye on, and something that Coach Mays has done for a long time, is anytime that he hands the ball off with his quarterbacks always run to the sideline. They always carry out a fake. So at some point here, you're going to have to make sure you are still honoring that quarterback after the handoff to make sure he doesn't give you a hidden ball trick and sneak the sideline.
Going to ask Jake a scouting question coming up because he's already done his scouting, it sounds like. So you've got Holcomb back there. The hand is to him. And once again, he tests the middle of that line, nowhere to go. McLean's right there to shut it down, along with Buchanan, bringing up a 4th and goal. Game just won by Holcomb that time. And Jake, if you're scouting Sikeston with longtime coach Jim May of Scott City, are you scouting Sikeston more, or are you going back and actually scouting what Scott City has done in the past?
Well, I think I think it's a double-loaded question. I'm going to answer one first. I think you have to go back with what Jim was comfortable with when he was at Scott City, because whenever you take over a program year 1, there's a really good chance you're bringing with what you're comfortable with from your old school. With that being said, though, there's a big-time difference between Scott City and Sikeston with the athletic abilities of what they have. So when you look at that, you take that playbook you had, but then you can also tweak it enough to fit the athletes. And that's something I've said every year, 18, 19 years I've done this. You always take your program to fit your kids. So if what Coach Mays was good at Scott City doesn't fit his athletes at Sikeston, you have to watch with what Sikeston's doing now.
Does it matter that your opponent level has also increased when you come to that level?
By all means, because what you could have gotten away with at Scott City versus some smaller class schools is not going to be the case with Class 4 and Class 5.
Luke Gadberry, the punter. We saw Luke make a tremendous play as the snap was snapped to his side. He jumped over and one-handed it, Now, he was not able eventually to get the punt off, but he did a great job of just corralling it. But now he's got his heels on his own end line. He jumps up. It's loose. Farmington may have gotten a piece of it, but Gadberry's able to punt it out of his end zone. Farmington grabs it at the 35, and they'll be able to control it now at the 34-yard line. Bryson Logan. And once again, I don't know how Gadberry did it, but Gadberry in dire straits back there, and he manages to get that thing away.
You know, and there was multiple things there. Not only did he fumble it, he bobbled it trying to pick it up, looked up, saw pressure, got it off, and I'm pretty sure the hand hit it. But what was really fortunate for Farmington, not only was it a block, they could have had a safety or a touchdown, it almost hit Tatum Tinsley bouncing down the field. Josh McCarthy was smart enough to see it, not sure whether it hit him, scooped it up, and at least just got it out of bounds.
We'll go down and look through the eyes of Mike Reeves coming up after this break, but we've come to the end of the first quarter. Farmington 12 and Sikeston nothing. Back with our sideline report from Mike on the other side of this timeout on Parkland Sports Live.
Hey, it's Mark Tody here, and you know there's no better place to watch the big game than Spokes Pub and Grill in Farmington. Chris and Dina Spence invite you out to enjoy the great menu and the fun atmosphere that Spokes always provides. For me, I love the burgers. The catfish sandwich is amazing. The pork chops are awesome. They have huge salads, and you should always leave room for dessert when you go to Spokes. Check out their Facebook page to see when your favorite band is performing. And as always, for rolling good times, it's Spokes Pub and Grill right off Highway 67 in Farmington.
Knights football as we start the second quarter. Let's go to the sideline. Mike, we were all thinking that punt should have happened to start the second quarter instead of closing the first.
That's and even some of the folks over here on the Sikeston side, where I stayed a little closer to them tonight, I think the thinking was kind of the same, like, what's going on here? Jake, I want to ask you this because I know you watch it a little closer. On the 3 plays that were just run at the 2-yard line, Farmington looked like they completely they did not respect the fact that they might throw the ball at all. And you always wonder, 98 yards, you throw one over the top, you go the distance. Did you kind of see them defensively not respect the pass game on almost any level? They stuffed that with no problems at all.
Yeah, I think their mentality was, we're just going to put a corner on the receivers and we're going to let our safeties play the inside run. But I think that's exactly right, Mike. They were going to go for the safety on that play.
Kason McLean through the guards, breaks the tackle, dances out of it. He's still headed the right way. He's corralled at the 20-yard line, but another big chunk of yardage for these Farmington Knights on a gain of 16 by Kason McLean. McLean had a big game last week at Jackson. He's headed for back-to-back 100-yard nights. In fact, that's only his 7th carry, and Kason McLean already has now 98 yards rushing for the Knights. We just started our second quarter, 12-0 Knights on top.
All right, it's going to be interesting to see how many times we hand the ball off to Case tonight, but the main thing is going to be consistency with this weather if Brett's able to catch these snaps.
You've got Rice and McCarthy on the wings. Rice going to be the motion man right to the left side. McLean off tackle left side's got a block, stumbles forward inside of the 10, and another big chunk. That's another 12-yard gain, 110 yards rushing for Kason McLean. He already has a pair of 200-yard rushing games to his credit throughout his career. He's a guy that's going to close in on 4,000 career yards. He's going to really rise in those Farmington record books. So first and goal just inside of the 10-yard line for the Knights. Knights pushing from our right to our left. Rice in motion, left to the right side. McLean off tackle right side, breaks the tackle. He's to the 5. Tries to lean in there and eventually dump down, but it's a gain of 4 for Kason McLean right there.
Second down and goal just inside the 5. Kason McLean with a whale of a first half.
McCarthy checks out of the ball game.
And let me just throw this in, Brent.
And they'll get a substitute in for him, Ian Embry. Embry, a wide receiver. McCarthy really interchangeable. Mostly a running back, but he'll catch a pass for you as well. So twins to the right, one man off to the left, motion man there. They give us to McLean. McLean left side, through one tackle, and then pounds his way into the end zone. Second touchdown for Kason McLean tonight. 10:22 remaining in the second quarter. Knights 18, and the Bulldogs nothing.
In the span of a quarter and almost 2
Ooh,
minutes.
did they call this thing back or not? Nope. They hadn't put it on the board. They'd paused, so was just making sure. No flags out there, though, and the Knights lead 18-0.
You know, I was just getting ready to ask. I was going to ask you this. I was going to flip the script and say, okay, you've ran Kaysen 3 plays in a row and he's pounded. Do you pull it if you're Brett Dry? But I guess he hasn't had a negative play on this down, so just give it to him.
The ball fumbled on the 2-point conversion by Dry, and the 4th fumble for Farmington here in the first half. They haven't lost any of them, though.
No, and that's what's crazy.
Grace.
Yeah, that is the saving grace right now. But at the same point, you got to start limiting your mistakes on this. And, I mean, this is one where you just have a conversation with your center. You're so used to sending them back there so fast. You tell them, even with a dead man snap, for those who don't know what it is, you grab the top of the ball instead of the laces. Grab the top and you just flip it back so he's got time to catch the ball and read.
Let's go ahead and take a quick timeout. Then we'll head down to the field after that and check in with Mike Reeves. 10:22 remaining in the first half, and 18-0. Knights on top.
Kim Hudson is a real estate broker owner in Farmington with Coldwell Banker Holsey. Kim has been selling homes since 2004. She's a Farmington High School graduate and very active in the community. Whether you're buying or selling, she's there to help you through every step of the process. Check out Kim's latest listings at kimhudsonhomes.com or call 760-9789. That's 760-9789. Or email Kim Hudson at kim@coldwellbankerholsey.com.
Ian Zoner boots this away for the Knights, and this one goes into the end zone for a touchback. And Mike Reeves down on the field for us. It sure looks like the Knights' offensive front is dominating the line of scrimmage from up here.
There is absolutely no question about it. If you don't have Farmington's self-inflicted wounds, just the snaps that have been fumbled, the issues they've had, and unable to convert on the touchdowns, they are really dominating the game. And I think, you guys can form your own opinion. If Farmington gets the next score in this one, I think we're done. I don't see somebody coming from 4 scores down in this thing tonight. So I think this defensive stand here, get the ball back, put another one on the board, and I think you feel real good about where you are tonight.
Pierce Baker back in the gun, Holcomb beside him. Baker's just going to go straight quarterback keep. It's just a straight lead that time with the running back leading him through the hole, and maybe they found something there with a 4-yard gain by Baker. Baker's second carry. He was hit once and gained a yard, so now he's got 5. And we'd like to thank our crew and tell you about our cameraman Wyatt Cawley and our engineer Jacob Towers doing a terrific job for us tonight on Parkland Sports Live. Here's a 2nd and 6 for Sikeston. Kenneth Holcomb, good running back. He averages nearly 6 yards per carry this season. But Farmington has not allowed much, on the ground or through the air right here. But once again, it's a straight QB lead to the left side. This is the little Jalen Hurts action. Just line up and come at you right here on a gain of 6 and move the sticks.
Watching this QB ISO here, especially on this field, because this was back when we played Gateway Tech. The whole fourth quarter, it was what we called D-gun. We called the D-gun with DeVault and Garrett Roper in the back.
I called it the Wild Night whenever I called the action.
Yeah, there you go. And, I mean, we came down from 2 scores to wind up winning that game.
The darndest game I ever broadcast. The solution to the problems was let's just play without a quarterback. And you guys came back and won that game. That was an amazing adjustment. Here's a jet sweep this time. Coming across the formation was Keon Atkins. But Farmington, Jake, not only stern up the middle, but does a nice job of stretching that out and covering the gaps on the wide side of the field as well.
And that's something that Eric Krupe's defense is really well known for. And it's hard to explain this if people don't understand inside-out leverage. Their corners play outside in, meaning they're going to press everything back into their linebackers and their defensive line running the line. And the corner on the far side did a great job turning them back for no outside leverage.
2nd and 9, Atkins goes in motion again, but instead of Atkins, they'll give it to the running back Holcomb, but the thing's blown dead on a false start here by Sikeston. Their 3rd penalty of the game for 15 yards.
Another 5 yards as a false start pushes.
Well, Jake, here's something interesting, a little statistical nugget for you with 8:37 remaining here in the first half. You've got 12, 15, 20 total yards of offense by Sikeston, but Tatum Tinsley has 73 yards off of catching passes from Sikeston. So that's a number that you'll like if you're a Knights fan.
If you're a Knights fan, yes. If you're Coach Mays, you're not too impressed at this exact moment.
Yeah. Twins to the right, one man off to the right side. 2nd and long, 2nd and 15 here for Sikeston. They look over to the sideline. Clock's running down. It's hit zeros, and the officials do indeed throw the flag on the delay of game. So it turns a 2nd and, 14 or 15 into nearly a 2nd and 20 here.
You had a good play. You got past the line to, we're at around the 35.
Sikeston 2 up and 2 down. They beat Crystal City 29-18. A loss at Dexter 49-7, and then they had trouble with Cape Central 56-16, but then bounced back against Malden last week 49-16. They'll go ahead and give it up the gut this time and see if they can get a little bit of that yardage back on a 2nd and 19. And they give it to their mainstay, Kenneth Holcomb, in the backfield, who gains 6 yards. 5 carries for Holcomb. He's got 9 yards rushing. Was that Derek Eves that was in charge of that adjustment that you talked about against Gateway Tech?
It was Derek Eves, and he said, what do we do? You know, they're picking us apart, and we hadn't ran Roper Garrett a ton with Connor DeVault on the field at the same time, and he said, let's just put them both back there and see if we can run QB ISO.
He said, here we come, see if you can stop it. And a nifty design on the play this time, but it doesn't go anywhere. I don't know if they gained anything on the screen over to the left side, but I like what they were thinking there. They completed the ball out to Holcomb. We'll say maybe a yard, but Jake, they ran a lot of action to the right side. They had 3 wides there on the snap. Their linemen were pulling there, and then they tried to come back, but Farmington just wasn't fooled.
No, they weren't fooled. Now, I'll actually tell you, the defensive end on that side, Chase Buchanan, was 1 step away from probably knocking that ball down or maybe even having a chance to go up and try to intercept that. It's a good job by this D front that they're told if it's too easy, replace Hills and find the ball.
Well, Luke Gadberry's already had a wild night as the punter. And this time the snap is right there to his midsection, and he grabs it cleanly, punts it straight down the field, and it also takes a little bit of a Sikeston hop. Farmington will have it at its own 39-yard line. All right, let's head down to the field and check in with Mike Reeves and what he's seeing down there tonight.
Guys, this is for either of you to comment on. Both of you can comment on it, but I've gotten the impression in just a quarter and a half of football that Sikeston may be one of those teams that you know what you do well offensively, and if that's taken away, you don't have a whole lot of other options to go to. They run it well. They'd like to do some things on the ground. The wind, I'm sure, has taken away some of the passing options that they might have, but do you guys feel that way that, hey, we're down 18-0, but there's one thing we do well, and if they keep stopping it, we're just in trouble?
And now there's Dry. They give us to McLean up the gut. Finally, Sikeston is equal to the task there as Darryl Jordan wraps him up and brings him down. And, in response to Mike Reeves, Jake, I mean, I'll kind of let you handle it, but everything Sikeston has kind of thrown at them, whether it was the option, the quarterback keep lead, yes, maybe got one play out of it, but the Knights have adjusted well all night so far.
No, I think it's an answer that the weather's probably factoring in what they are capable of doing. It's tough being in Coach May's position, taking over this program that struggled for so many years to find your identity without, being elusive to one asset of the game. To answer Mike, it's tough because you're in a situation where you may have great speed, but you're also playing a very X and O schematically smart Eric Krupe from the defensive side that he's watched all your film and he knows what your traits are.
True straight plays to Case and McLean, 1 for 1, 1 for 5. 3rd and 4 here for the Knights. Rice in motion. They give us to Rice, and Rice is blown up in the backfield. Met and stuffed right there by Demarius Brown. And a tip of the cap to Demarius Brown, a 6'1", 240-pound senior, not only took on the lead block, but blew the play up behind it.
And that's one of those things where in a game like this, the elements may factor. You're taking over a program that has struggled for so many years. I don't think they got their first win last year until week 8. So you found a team that may not have a ton of confidence in themselves. And the hard part is you can't push too much. Taking on a schedule of what you have in Coach Mays' program, you've got to find those small attributes each week, each game to build on. I mean, he's already had more success in 4 games than they had all halfway, almost until district play last year. So, Mike, to reiterate this, I think you just have to be smart with what you have and just know what facet of the game you need to focus on.
Zoner hammers this punt, and not only does he hammer it, he curls it to the left at the 2-yard line and drops it at the 1. An amazing play by Ian Zoner.
Hudson Buchanan
Yeah, I'm not sure you could have. I mean, you talk about a coffin corner. The only thing he didn't hit was the pylon, the front side of the pylon, to keep it at the half-inch line.
An incredible punt by Zoner right there. And you know, kind of going back to the whole mindset of Sikeston, Jake, you've got, we talked about this last week, Farmington on the road at Jackson. You have that mental element. Oh, no, these guys again.
Yep.
Well, Farmington's kind of got some of that against Sikeston, winning 8 in a row.
Yeah, and then, I mean, used to this battle was a battle. I mean,
Yep.
Sikeston, Farmington, it was a war. You know, but whenever you transition as many head coaches as Sikeston has through the last, decade, it's tough to get that consistency to know what exactly you are as an identity as a program.
Baker and Holcomb in the backfield in the end zone, and they're caught at the goal line. Can he nose it forward? Oh, mercy, just. I mean, he just got the pigskin on the other side of that painted line. Seems like this Sikeston offense has run their last 8 plays from the end zone, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, you're already struggling as an offense. You're one-dimensional right now. You can't throw the ball. QB ISO has been where it is for you to get your first down on the last drive. You have to think Farmington knows you're going to run inside here. They may give a jet sweep motion here to come back inside. But right now, I mean, your tailback's almost on the out of bounds. Jordan's the lead blocker. Holcomb gets it. He's taking it up the gut, and he's taken down inside of the one. You kind of alluded to it there, right there, Jake. Your play sheet doesn't have a lot of calls for inside of the one. No, and I'll tell you, the one thing that Coach Creepy does know is you don't take your foot off the throat in this situation, because he played Popper Bluff one year. The first play of the game, they went 99 yards from their own end zone on a reverse halfback pass that until this day, this situation, I know Coach Creepy well enough to know this is not where you take anybody light. You make sure you have all your X's and O's in line here. 3rd and 10, and Pierce Baker once again is going to take that shotgun snap 6 yards deep in his own end zone, fakes it, heads to the right side. He's got a little bit of a seam and does a nice job individually of splitting a couple of would-be tacklers. Good speed by Baker right there, and he at least gains 7 yards and gives his punter maybe more of a chance here. The only bad thing here is you're punting again from your own end zone. Last time you had it, you had a bobbled snap, barely got it off. It was tipped behind the line. Now you're kicking into the wind. And with 2:44 and counting down here in the second quarter, you're looking at the Knights perhaps having possession of the football once again, starting in your territory with the clock winding down. Unless you stop them 3 and out, you're probably not getting the ball back. Down to 6 seconds. Unless, of course, Farmington would score quickly, which, well, you don't want that either if you're Sikeston. You don't want that right now. You hopefully get this ball kicked off, get to a situation where you can play defense and at least hold them out before halftime. Let's thank a few of our sponsors now, like the St. Joseph Catholic Youth Group in Farmington, Kim Hudson, Caldwell Banker Halsey Real Estate, the Catfish Kettle, a landmark in Farmington, everyone's favorite, and Cozine Memorial Chapel and Crematory since 1964. Want to direct you to the Barn Podcast Network. And, Jake, tell us a little bit about the interview you did with a couple of Fredericktown student athletes that folks can go to the Barn Podcast and check out if they'd like. Yeah, I had the opportunity this week to meet up with Donnie Lout IV, one of the small linemen on that front for the Black Cats. Which is a compliment. It is. He's a good, hard-working kid. He's a farm boy from down there. And Easton Wood, the starting quarterback and safety, 2 kids I know very well. They were freshmen when I took over. They came in as freshmen my first year as the head coach at Fredericktown. So a chance to sit down, kind of touch base on how Coach Williams is doing in his second year at the helm in Black Cat Valley. So, yeah, go and check it out on the Barn. Give those 2 young men from Fredericktown a listen. Fredericktown doing a nice job, too, taking some good positive strides in their program. Every time you talk about quality, undersized linemen in the area, I always think Ethan Hennis. got the most out of what God gave him. And now Farmington grabs the Tatum Tinsley at the 40, dances around a tackle, plows his way forward to the 35-yard line, and Farmington will start either at the 35 or the 34. So if you're the Knights, I mean, this is exactly what you're after here. 2:11 remaining in the second quarter. You're up 18-0, and you've got the ball starting in Sikeston territory here. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and talk on the undersized. It says something about you and your work ethic and your tenacity to be a 170-pound offensive lineman, be state quarterfinalist, and to be an all-state candidate. So, I mean, it says something about the grit you have to have on that offensive line. Connor Rice goes in motion. The give is up the gut once again. This is Cason McLean slamming his way through the middle. Left hash mark, and they can't contain him. He goes across the 25, across the 20, down to the 19-yard line, and rips off 16 yards. Cason McLean
a tremendous first half of play as he's got 140 rushing yards on 13 carries. Ethan Hennis, by the way, the SEMO Conference and the SEMO essentially teams get together and give out awards at the end of the season. Ethan Hennis was the outstanding lineman in the area as a senior.
And he was a 5'7", 170-pound soaking wet young man. So built with grit, but that probably came from his father, longtime coach here at Farmington.
Connor Rice in motion, and why not go to Cason McLean? Cason McLean breaks 2 tackles. He's to the 5. He's to the 3. And Cason McLean just ripping huge chunks of yardage off every time he touches the ball. That one goes for 14.
That is another play.
154 yards rushing by Cason McLean. We're going to check with Mike Reeves after this play. We'll see if Farmington can punch this thing in, but boy, I don't know how many people are interested in trying to bring this young guy down right now. He's wearing some people out.
He does a great job. He put a foot in the ground at the second level 3 times now and gets a cut to the backside. He just has an ability to find those holes.
First and goal for the Knights. It's McLean off tackle right side, puts the hat down and puts the hat in to the end zone. A 3-yard touchdown run for Cason McLean, his 3rd of the night. And the Farmington Knights are on top 24-zip at the 106 mark here of the second quarter. And we go down to the field now with Mike Reeves. And Mike, there's not anybody that is bringing this young Cason McLean down one-on-one and down on the field right now.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know it by the way that they just executed that short field drive. Guys, we've got our worst weather conditions of the night by far. It is raining harder than it has at any time. The wind has picked up. Farmington made that look easy, and when you can give it to Cason McLean, that takes care of the weather issue sometimes.
Well, they actually stopped him on the 2-point try. It's the 2-point bugaboo right now for the Knights.
It is. This is almost like watching Jackson Jones in the Central offense. They struggle so hard with 2-point conversions. But I understand the logic with what you have score-wise right now. Trying to get up, maybe creep up to that turbo clock for second half. But at the same point, you may give Ian Zahner a shot here, with the wind at his back, just to see whether he can put one in or not.
McLean with 157 yards rushing on 15 carries, and he's got 3 touchdowns. The other touchdown, a 73-yard interception return by Tatum Tinsley. Farmington in Class 5, District 1. They currently reside 5th in the district standings. Sikeston also 5th. They're in Class 4. District 1. Traditionally, the 2 schools separated by only a few students, really, in their enrollment, along with Cape Central, also very close. We're 66 seconds remaining before the half, and the rain's starting to come down even just a little bit harder. And Jake thinks they might turn the right leg loose of Ian Zoner, and he blasts this one down to the 4-yard line. It's fumbled by Sikeston, and now taken on a middle return. They try to return it now to the right side. And a run to the right hash mark. That's Marcus Sanders Jr. And he manages to get it out to the 30. Not a bad effort by the young man. Let's go ahead and check out that touchdown drive, courtesy of Jake Whitener here.
Well, it didn't take long, only a minute and 5 seconds off the clock, and it was all Cason McLean going 33 yards on 3 plays to punch it in. And, to allude to his abilities, all of them were inside runs, but some of them he turned into outside backside runs because he found a gap. Not to take away from what Cason's doing on that drive, but a heck of a play by Hudson Buchanan out here, who got thrown to the ground on the block, got up, maybe saved a down the sideline touchdown from Sikeston.
Sikeston trying to take it up the middle with Kenneth Holcomb. This guy's just a sophomore, 5'9", 185 pounds. The sledding's going pretty tough for him tonight, but he's a nice young talent here in the SEMO North. A gain of 3 for Holcomb with a man down.
And to talk about that, Chad, whenever you have a program like this, anytime a coach takes a program over that has not had success, one of the hard things to do is to play the young guys, because I believe they have a defensive lineman that's a freshman starting for them. It's hard because you don't know how is that young athlete, how is he going to handle the pressure? How is that going to incorporate the next 2, 3, 4 years possibly as being a starter? Do you do them a service by starting them early, letting them get banged up a little bit? Does it give them the fire to be better years to come, or does it reverse and pull them back to where maybe you don't ever reach that full potential because they maybe get a little bit gun shy?
Wesley Patterson, the young man that you talked about starting on that defensive line, just a freshman. 42 seconds remaining here in the second quarter. And the snap to the quarterback, Baker. Baker just going to go once again on that QB lead to the left side and leans forward for a pair. Sikeston does not have to snap it again if they don't want to. 25, 24, 23, and ticking down. And Farmington on top, 24-0 on this rainy homecoming eve here at Farmington High. So far, pretty happy homecoming for the Knights. Sikeston continues to look over to their sideline. They have a look like they don't want to run another play, but now they will head up to the line of scrimmage with 5, 4, 3. Baker under center. The clock has gone zeros, and we've come to the end of the first half. Farmington leads at the half 24-0. They're looking for the 9th straight victory in this series against the Sikeston Bulldogs, and they're looking to go to 2-1 in the SEMO North. So we're headed toward the half. Jake and I will take a look at the numbers. We'll chat a little bit with Mike Reeves coming up at half as well. It'll be your Southeast Missouri Mental Health halftime show, providing mental health services since 1903 right here in Farmington, serving over 350 patients with over 1,000 employees, one of the largest employers in St. Francis County and growing. Find out how you can become a part of their family by scheduling an interview today at dmh.mo.gov or give them a call, 573-218-6800. We'll step aside now here on Parkland Sports Live. We're at the half. It's Farmington 24 and Sikeston zip.
Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College is ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs are all about getting to work and making things happen. Whether you thrive on fixing, building, or just plain problem solving, they've got a pathway for you. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. You'll gain the practical skills and real-world experience needed to thrive in today's job market. Take the first step to a fulfilling career in a Mac Tech program. Apply today at mineralarea.edu.
The Department of Mental Health for the state of Missouri is seeking an advanced practice nurse to fill a position on their East-Southeast Regional Forensics mobile team. This position includes daytime travel, a flexible work schedule with remote work options available, at a salary of $130,000 annually and tremendous benefits. This opening will not last long. To apply for the advanced practice nurse position or any other with the Department of Mental Health, please call 573-218-6800 or go to dmh.mo.gov. The state of Missouri is an equal opportunity employer. We celebrate diversity and are committed to creating an inclusive environment for all employees.
Matt Stroud Excavating and Hauling has the equipment and know-how to get that job done right. They dig basements, ponds, lakes, roads, and clearings and haul in the rock. Check out Matt Stroud Excavating and Hauling's commercial work at Domino's in Farmington and Fredericktown and Leadbelt Motorsports. Call Matt Stroud Excavating and Hauling today at 701-3258. That's 701-3258.
Kim Hudson is a real estate broker owner in Farmington with Coldwell Banker Holsey. Kim has been selling homes since 2004. She's a Farmington High School graduate and very active in the community. Whether you're buying or selling, she's there to help you through every step of the process. Check out Kim's latest listings at kimhudsonhomes.com or call 760-9789. That's 760-9789. Or email Kim Hudson at kim@coldwellbankerholsey.com.
Hey, it's Mark Toady here, and you know there's no better place to watch the big game than Spokes Pub and Grill in Farmington. Chris and Dina Spence invite you out to enjoy the great menu and the fun atmosphere that Spokes always provides. For me, I love the burgers. The catfish sandwich is amazing. The pork chops are awesome. They have huge salads, and you should always leave room for dessert when you go to Spokes. Check out their Facebook page to see when your favorite band is performing. And as always, for rolling good times, it's Spokes Pub and Grill right off Highway 67 in Farmington.
With a history woven into the very fiber of our area, Cozine Memorial Chapel and Crematory is not only the oldest funeral home in the Parkland, but one of the oldest in the state. Cozine Memorial Chapel is more than just a place to pay our respects to those who have left us. It's where we find peace, surrounded by loved ones and friends from our community. Find out more about pre-need options and all the services offered at CozineFuneralHome.com or call 573-756-5555. 4541. Cozine Memorial Chapel and Crematory, established in 1864. Hey kids, let's go to the Catfish Kettle. Yeah! Everyone's favorite is the Catfish Kettle. It's been a landmark in Farmington for almost 40 years. Get the famous all-you-can-eat catfish, chicken, shrimp, and homemade sides served family style for lunch or dinner. Or enjoy tilapia, crab cakes, fish tacos, frog legs, or even gator tail. All ready for you for lunch or dinner at the Catfish Kettle. Located at Karsh in Maple Valley at the entrance to Farmington. See the full menu at catfishkettlerestaurant.com.
Hi, my name is Jonas, and I go to St. Joseph in Farmington. My friends in the St. Joseph Youth Group are planning another mission trip to Belize next July. The group will help rebuild and repair Catholic schools in the country. Just call St. Joseph Catholic Church in Farmington for more information. And don't forget about the drive-thru chicken fry on Sunday, October 6th, right outside the school cafeteria. Chicken, sides, and desserts for just $10 a plate. Help the St. Joe Youth Group help other young Catholics in Belize by supporting their mission trip.
The Department of Mental Health for the state of Missouri is seeking an advanced practice nurse to fill a position on their East-Southeast Regional Forensics mobile team. This position includes daytime travel, a flexible work schedule with remote work options available, at a salary of $130,000 annually, and tremendous benefits. This opening will not last long. To apply for the advanced practice nurse position or any other with the Department of Mental Health, please call 573-218-6800 or go to dmh.mo.gov. The state of Missouri is an equal opportunity employer. We celebrate diversity and are committed to creating an inclusive environment for all employees.
Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College is ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs are all about getting to work and making things happen. Whether you thrive on fixing, building, or just plain problem solving, they've got a pathway for you. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. You'll gain the practical skills and real-world experience needed to thrive in today's job market. Take the first step to a fulfilling career in a Mac Tech program. Apply today at mineralarea.edu.
Hey, it's Mark Toady here, and you know there's no better place to watch the big game than Spokes Pub and Grill in Farmington. Chris and Dina Spence invite you out to enjoy the great menu and the fun atmosphere that Spokes always provides. For me, I love the burgers. The catfish sandwich is amazing. The pork chops are awesome. They have huge salads, and you should always leave room for dessert when you go to Spokes. Check out their Facebook page to see when your favorite band is performing. And as always, for rolling good times, it's Spokes Pub and Grill right off Highway 67 in Farmington.
Kim Hudson is a real estate broker owner in Farmington with Coldwell Banker Holsey. Kim has been selling homes since 2004. She's a Farmington High School graduate and very active in the community. Whether you're buying or selling, she's there to help you through every step of the process. Check out Kim's latest listings at kimhudsonhomes.com or call 760-9789. That's 760-9789. Or email Kim Hudson at kim@coldwellbankerholsey.com. With a history woven into the very fiber of our area, Cozine Memorial Chapel and Crematory is not only the oldest funeral home in the Parkland, but one of the oldest in the state. Cozine Memorial Chapel is more than just a place to pay our respects to those who have left us. It's where we find peace, surrounded by loved ones and friends from our community. Find out more about pre-need options and all the services offered at CozineFuneralHome.com or call 573-756-4541. Cozine Memorial Chapel and Crematory, established in 1864.
Matt Stroud Excavating and Hauling has the equipment and know-how to get that job done right. They dig basements, ponds, lakes, roads, and clearings and haul in the rock. Check out Matt Stroud Excavating and Hauling's commercial work at Domino's in Farmington and Fredericktown and Leadbelt Motorsports. Call Matt Stroud Excavating and Hauling today at 701-3258. That's 701-3258.
Hey kids, let's go to the Catfish Kettle. Everyone's favorite is the Catfish Kettle. It's been a landmark in Farmington for almost 40 years. Get the famous all-you-can-eat catfish, chicken, shrimp, and homemade sides served family style for lunch or dinner. Or enjoy tilapia, crab cakes, fish tacos, frog legs, or even gator tail. All ready for you for lunch or dinner at the Catfish Kettle. Located at Karsh in Maple Valley at the entrance to Farmington. See the full menu at catfishkettlerestaurant.com.
Looking for top quality custom sportswear and activewear? Look no further than Nouveau Athletic. Nouveau Athletic blends innovative design with affordability, revolutionizing activewear for athletes, teams, and enthusiasts alike. From affordable, high-quality team practice wear to specialty sublimated activewear, Nouveau Athletic has grown to become a leader in sportswear and the industry, especially in cheer. Nouveau Athletic, where passion meets quality in every stitch.
For Nouveau Athletic custom apparel locally, contact Tia Cunningham at 573-701-6015.
Thanks for tuning in to Parkland Sports Live in conjunction with the Parkland Podcast, brought to you as always by The Barn. The Barn is an emerging media company and podcast network based in Southeast Missouri, with popular podcasts such as The Tippy Joe Show, Vulgar Display of Podcast, Birds and Swords, Midwest Mixtape Podcast, Knuckleball Prime Time, Struggle Street Sessions, Bible Talk at the Barn, Girl Dad, and Third Eye Review. The Barn is proud to provide a little something for everyone, whether it's music, comedy, variety talk, local events, mental health, movies, gaming, and more. The Barn is proud to support high school sports.
It's a happy homecoming so far in Farmington, 24-0 at the half. Chad Speaker, Jake Whitener, Mike Reeves, all on the call. We've brought Mike Reeves into the booth to get a little halftime warm-up and run a little three-man booth for a while in the second half. The conditions didn't seem to be bothering the Knights, Mike.
No, I mean, there were the mistakes, but I thought, like I said, 2 or 3 of them from field level just seemed like mistakes. They were just, the timing was not there. Could it have been weather-related? I guess maybe at the snaps early you don't catch it because the ball is wet. But I didn't feel like that was an issue. But, Chad, when you can run the football in bad weather, that just opens up everything for you, and it takes care of any problems that you may be having. Sikeston could run the ball. They can't run it, and you're not throwing it out there tonight. I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it would be for high school kids to try to run a pass offense tonight. So when you run it well, and I thought whoever scored first would have a huge upper hand. Farmington did that, and they really appeared just to be home free in this one. I'm trying to come up with a scenario in my head that Sikeston comes back in this one, and it's just not, there's none there.
And Jake, we were talking about, if you're Farmington, with the conditions, do you limit going to the third level of your option? Hasn't been a factor. They haven't had to because it's been Case and McLean up the gut, and nobody's been able to even slow it down.
Yeah, I don't think you even have to get to that. I mean, especially now 24-0. I mean, it's Case and McLean. Give it to Rice, give it to McCarthy, on some wing around type stuff. I mean, I think you just try to have simple handoffs now. You're looking for a 2 score to get to the turbo clock. But as Mike alluded to, if you do get behind the sticks, a couple of those snaps, there was one where I know Brett was trying to wave somebody in motion, and whatever he said at that exact moment, the center snapped the ball. There has just been a little lack of communication a little bit. And at this point, I mean, you're going to probably feed Case in another quarter. Just allow him to get his feet going, control the ball. But knowing Coach Krupe, they're going to try, even if they do break big plays, try to keep the clock running as much as they can to get out of this weather.
I'll tell you something that's awfully impressive about Case and watching him at field level, and I know you guys alluded to it, there's good and bad about both levels that we're watching the game from. You get a little bit better view of, you get that top view, you can see the whole field better. Down there, you tend to be a little more focused. The number of times that he has a play that's supposed to go one particular place, but he recognizes so well where an opening might be and to cut it back, or that's that innate stuff that you just don't, I don't know from a coach's perspective, you're out there teaching guys to do that. I think they kind of have that ability, and I've been impressed on 2 or 3 runs where I thought, well, there's, they'll get a little bit of a gain here, and all of a sudden he cuts it, and it's a big gain. Yeah. And we saw that on the touchdown run. He's a special running back. There's no doubt.
And if it's not innate, he's a 4-year starter. So, if you don't feel that as a freshman or sophomore, eventually you've done this enough times, you can feel where things are.
I think that goes back to the conversation you guys had at the barn last week. He is a kid who we knew coming in, because I was still a part of the program whenever he was in middle school, and you knew about this kid and this toughness. There's probably not, and I will respect everybody on both sides of these sidelines as far as the high school players. There may not be a more tenacious competitor on the field than Case and McLean. So when you look at that old school mentality, it's not a fair comparison, but he's kind of like the Mike Allstott A-Train. In the first 3 yards, he's going to lower his helmet and his shoulder pads. But if he has a chance to peek his eyes up at linebacker depth, that kid is elusive enough, and he keeps his hips and his knees under his chest, and he just keeps motoring those legs. He's just a very unique player, especially gifted and made for an offense like what Eric Krupe runs.
He swore to us, I don't know if it made it on the air. If it didn't, it was right afterward where we did the interview at the barn. He was faster this year. And on that 50-yard burst, I think you kind of saw it.
Yeah.
Because he kind of got the corner, and a couple of defenders maybe had an angle, and he just went through it.
I think something that's huge for him, and this is just from personal conversations, and not swaying one way or another on how this conversation went, but I think he's got a chip on his shoulder since his early career, because he made the dream team very early in his career as a running back, and he hasn't seen that platform since. So he has a self-imposed goal to get back to be that guy. And, that chip, you don't see a kid at the high school level with that competitive nature, both sides of the ball, two-way starter, to put a chip on their shoulder to say, I accomplished something early in my career. I feel like I haven't been rewarded. And it's not a selfish task. I mean, he takes a lot of the weight of this offense on his shoulders.
Jake, I know the answer to this from a coach's perspective would be, I would like to have both. But if you I think about what you're saying about his the compete level. If I gave you 40 kids of moderate skill, but they all had a compete level at the level that you're talking about him having, would most coaches say, I'll take that, we can work with that if they want to play that hard, as opposed to the ultra skilled guy who may say, I won't put in the work. Would you take that high compete level all the time?
100%. I mean, I don't even have to think about it twice. If you give me, let's say we have 50 kids on our team, and you've got 20 kids with a competitive nature that you can build on, because eventually that competitive nature is going to outweigh those other 30 that don't have it, to where if they want that time, they're going to have to start being just as competitive as the kids that are competing. And it can sway your team over having those 2 or 3 extremely athletic kids. So for me personally, I will always take a competitive spirit and drive over athleticism any day of the week.
You have kids coming through your program like that from time to time, and one of those in recent years for me was Drew Felker on Farmington, because Drew Felker was a guy that you talk about his measurables, not that impressive.
No,
but you get him on the field, and all of a sudden a guy that's supposed to be a 4.8 40 guy maybe, nobody's catching him from behind, and he's running down every supposed faster guy when they break away. He was a compete guy for me.
Oh, by all means. He was on the wrestling mat, too, and you saw that. He was a kid that could flip a switch.
And think about this for a minute, too. How many times have you guys, you as a coach, Jake, or just you covering games for as long as you have, I've had the same. How many times have you had coaches in any sport tell you, I want all my players to get the most out of whatever talent level they have, because they're not all going to be the same. And when you talk about guys like Drew, the guys that are get the most out of what they've got. That means your elite guys, they become elite. They're all state type players. And then those guys that aren't, they still get the most out of it.
And when your best players are that guy, are also leading the way in terms of hard work, like we have here with Kaysen, that's when you can follow me, guys. Everybody is held to that level at that point.
Well, I think it says something because even Brett Dry said, guys feed off me. So it's not just the motivational factor, it's the physical work ethic to say, you got to have somebody next year to replace Kaysen McLean. And to have somebody replace him, who's the guy who's putting in the time to become that next guy.
And I enjoy watching at the high school level too, kids who have that ability to, with the right way of doing it, be able to get on teammates, be able to tell them what you did wrong, what I don't like, what we got to do, without it becoming a controversy amongst the team. And he doesn't like me, I don't like him. You got to be able to have that, first of all, to take that criticism, be able to move on from it, and then be able to give it in the right way that your teammates accept it. And I think the best of the leaders do that.
And you have to know when to love them up and when to bark at them. And we saw that last week at Jackson whenever we had a snap on a 4th down to Brett Dry. Remember the one that came early and Brett was thrown for a 2-yard loss and Farmington was not able to continue the drive? The first guy that went to him was Kaysen McLean and said, you did a great job in a tough situation there, even though it didn't turn out for us.
Yep, and as a coach, that's invaluable. When sometimes you don't have to do it, it's like they can take care of that themselves, the good or the bad of it. I agree completely.
Let's take a look at some of the numbers, guys, here at the half. And Farmington rushes for 184. They didn't attempt to pass. Kaysen McLean gets more than the Lions share, more than most Lions will get. 15 carries for him at 157 and 3 scores. Connor Rice ran it a couple times for +4 and -4. You can do the math there. Josh McCarthy had 3 carries for 25 and Brett Dry 3 carries for 2 yards. So 184 for Farmington. Sikeston 40 total yards, 34 on the ground, and they get 6 through the air. 21 yards rushing for the quarterback Pierce Baker, and their feature running back Ken Holcomb, 7 carries for 12 yards. So for the Knights, kind of like we're talking about, they have done the job both on offense and defense. And we'll set the stage for you for our second half of play. Coming up on the other side of this timeout at the half, it's Farmington 24 and Sikeston nothing. We're back with your second half on Parkland Sports Live right after this.
Matt Stroud Excavating and Hauling has the equipment and know-how to get that job done right. They dig basements, ponds, lakes, roads, and clearings and haul in the rock. Check out Matt Stroud Excavating and Hauling's commercial work at Domino's in Farmington and Fredericktown and Leadbelt Motorsports. Call Matt Stroud Excavating and Hauling today at 701-3258. That's 701-3258.
Hi, my name is Jonas, and I go to St. Joseph in Farmington. My friends in the St. Joseph Youth Group are planning another mission trip to Belize next July. The group will help rebuild and repair Catholic schools in the country. Just call St. Joseph Catholic Church in Farmington for more information. And don't forget about the drive-through chicken fry on Sunday, October 6th, right outside the school cafeteria. Chicken, sides, and desserts for just $10 a plate. Help the St. Joe Youth Group help other young Catholics in Belize by supporting their mission trip.
Looking for top quality custom sportswear and activewear? Look no further than Nouveau Athletic. Nouveau Athletic blends innovative design with affordability, revolutionizing activewear for athletes, teams, and enthusiasts alike. From affordable, high-quality team practice wear to specialty sublimated activewear, Nouveau Athletic has grown to become a leader in sportswear and the industry, especially in cheer. Nouveau Athletic, where passion meets quality in every stitch.
For Nouveau Athletic custom apparel locally, contact Tia Cunningham at 573-701-6015.
A happy homecoming so far in Farmington, 24-0. Knights lead the Sikeston Bulldogs here at Hale Memorial Stadium. Chat speaker here with you, Jake Whitener. Third man in our booth is Mike Reeves, who's tracking down some scores. Wyatt Cawley is the man behind the camera, and Jacob Towers is keeping us on our podcast on Parkland Sports Live, and we're happy to be part of the Barn Podcast Network. Chad Winch, the czar of the Barn Podcast Network, and we're happy to be with him. Barn, an emerging media company in Farmington, featuring the Tippy Joe Show, vulgar display of podcasts, birds and swords, and so much more. Be sure to like and subscribe for notifications. Farmington's got the wind here. Jake, you knocking this one deep with Zoner, or what do you think?
I would actually leave it a little short.
Would you?
Let him pop it in the air, let the wind travel it, try to get a roll, maybe even try to pin him on the one.
Farmington has done a few times, as exactly as you indicated. Farmington was nearly able to fall on a couple of those, and instead it's Sikeston that falls on it right there, and they'll have it at their own 28-yard line to start this second half. Rolla leading North County 14-7 in the second quarter. Fredericktown up over Potosi 6-0 at the half. That's a good one. And it's Central leading St. Genevieve 18-6 at the half. Some of the scores from around our area. Caruthersville is at Valley tonight, and we'll take a look at some of the other matchups as well. Festus leading Hillsborough. That's a defensive struggle, 7-zip at the half. Festus on top there. Pierce Baker brings the troops out for the second half of play. He's got his running back Kenneth Holcomb with him. He's got one wide receiver to each side. It's a 1st and 10 for Sikeston, and they've got it at their own 29-yard line. It's straight QB power this time. And Farmington said, you know what? That's one of the few things that gained hardly any yards in the first half. They were ready for that one, Jake, as they jumped all over the top of it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the only way Sikeston's ran. They've ran to the defensive right of Farmington, their offensive left, and then every successful play they've had except for QB Poole has went that direction. So unfortunately, you had a lot of time with Coach Krupe, who's a defensive mastermind, to come up and scheme what they're going to change to stop that inside run.
Isaac Owens all over that play, and well, for Pierce Baker, he was fortunate to hold on to that thing. Windsor leading DeSoto at the half, 16-12. Good game. And Valley, no problem at Caruthersville or with Caruthersville, 30-0 the score on that one. Pierce Baker, another keeper. Instead of straight up the gut, though, he tries to go around the left edge. And he does gain a few yards. It's a gain of 3 for Baker on that play. Brings up a 3rd and long, a 3rd and 7 for Sikeston. 22 yards rushing for Pierce Baker on 8 carries. And he has all but 13 of the rushing yards for Sikeston. Sikeston will deploy 3 wide to the right, 1 off to the left. You've got 1 running back beside that quarterback as well. The quarterback keeps it, though. Baker checks that right side, and he's hammered down on the right side. And Farmington once again shuts the door on that one. Another tremendous defensive stop by Corbin Phillips. And really, I think as much as anything, we've seen consistent play by a lot of individuals, Jake, but it seems like we're calling a different number on all these tackles because Sikeston is trying to run outside, inside, different guys, and Farmington playing good team defense covering all the gaps.
Yeah, they're just playing assignment football here, alignment, assignment, attack, and they're doing a great job of staying in their alleys and playing their gap defense.
Here's Gadberry, the punter, and a good snap to him. Waits a moment, boots it away. It's a line drive punt into the driving rain, and it actually takes a Farmington bounce. The Knights will have it at their own 48-yard line. Some of the other matchups around the area tonight. Grandview is at Perryville, St. Vincent going to Hayti. Herculaneum is on the road at Cuba. Crystal City at Gateway. Northwest of Cedar Hill hosting Melville. Seckman hosting Oakville, and Fox is at Rockwood Summit. 24-0, and Farmington looking for its first offensive possession here in the second half. And they have been able to stay, pretty vanilla in this thing. It's been 15 carries for Kason McLean, and everyone else combined with about half of that. 8 carries by everybody else combined, and no passing attempts for the Knights. They just haven't needed it. So here's McLean. Primary back behind his quarterback, McCarthy, and the wing back to the right side. You've got Rice as the wing back to the left side and 1 wide to the left. That's the short side of the field. Rice goes in motion left to the right side. They give us to McLean. McLean puts the head down, and maybe Sikeston made a few adjustments as well because we haven't seen that very often tonight.
Unfortunately here, Sikeston's going to have to be very careful because they smothered Kason very hard. There was nobody on the outside. If they choose to go to that second and third layer of the option, there was nobody outside on that formation for Sikeston. Sikeston to stop either Brett on the pull or the pitch to Connor Rice.
They've kind of put themselves in the position to pick their poison, haven't they? I mean, you want to die by 1,000 cuts between the guards. And now here's the quarterback running the keeper. This is Brett Dry. He gets the outside, ducks around to tackle her, and scoots up the field for a 7-yard gain.
We haven't seen many carries from
Only his third carry. He's got 9 yards rushing. And it brings up a 3rd and 3 for the Knights as they've got it at the 44-yard line of Sikeston. 9:08 and counting down here in the third, 24-0. Farmington on top here. Farmington looking to improve to 3-2. Both of these teams are, but the Knights are in shape to do it. They go to Union next week, and then it's a battle with Cape Central a week after that. Is that another free first down?
Yes, it is.
That's the 3rd time they've forced him to jump.
And, but that's something that you're really good at. If you run this triple option and you know the snap count, you almost have to shoot if you're that defensive end to take away. You don't have a choice on it, but you do have to be more disciplined. These are the small things taking over a program.
Mike Reeves in the booth. We're running a 3-man booth right now. We've got a full house backfield here.
One thing I got to ask you about, you said, and I agree, kind of vanilla, the way they've gone about things. Isn't that good, though, to be vanilla and do things like that?
Well, how about instead of a vanilla play, how about a dry one? And this one goes 40 yards to the end zone. So, yeah, we run Case and McLean. Let's bounce it outside. That's a 40-yard score for Brett Dry.
Jake, you just mentioned that there would be something on the outside if they could get it. They went right and got about 7 yards and then came back to the left side. Nobody home here, and goodbye.
And that's one of the hard things with triple option. We are going to actually see a PAT attempt by Zoner here, but that's one of the hard things is they went reverse motion with Brett Dry off of that, which makes it really hard for a defense, an undisciplined defense.
Dry into the end zone for the 6th time of the year on the ground, and that now ties him with McLean, who came into the ball game with 3 touchdowns running, and he's doubled that here tonight. And flags before the play gets off. But yeah, if you have a quarterback that's reading things right, as soon as you pinch in on that option.
Something you do though is if you haven't came back against your motion. So what they do is they put a guy in motion going to the right, and as they see that and he sets his feet for the motion, most guys from a defensive standpoint are assuming it's not going to be a return option. It's going to go away from you from that defensive end, so that tells you to crash harder to take out the lead or the dive. But as you do that, you open right back up because as he did it, he reversed out, didn't go with the motion, and had the sideline to himself.
8:38 remaining here in the third, and the officials discussing it and look like they'll pick up the flag. But they whistled the play dead, so I guess we just have a redo. We're going to be looking for our Mineral Area College and Mac Tech player of the game. And Casey McLean put in a pretty good first half with 157. Brett Dry now goes 49. So, the common denominator is the offensive line. So those guys are doing the job too. Tatum Tinsley has the biggest defensive play of the game. We got a lot of good candidates so far.
Zach, let's talk a little bit about what Sikeston needs to do.
Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College, ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs all about getting to work and making things happen. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. Take the first step to a fulfilling career in a Mac Tech program. Apply today at mineralarea.edu. I think we'll get to the extra point here before long. And zoner line. This would be the first successful point after try if it goes through. I say would be. And the snap is there. The hold is down.
So here's what I'm gonna.
But we're not able to get
this. I know it's encroachment. I don't know if they're gonna go for 2. I assume that Coach Creepy's still gonna go for 1 with the score. I really think they picked up the flag. They waved it off on the last one, but nobody saw whether it went through or not because they threw the flag. So they can't determine a wave off on the flag, good, no good. So they had to retry it, and then we get an extra penalty.
We may get a running clock tonight at some point. It's not happening right now, though. This thing's frozen at 8:38.
If we could figure out the flags, we may have a better chance of getting there.
Feels like we've been here for a while. Look at the official's coat whipping in the wind down there. Great shot by Wyatt Colley. Good work. So, how about this one? All right, there's the extra tally. 31 zip. Farmington on top, 8:38 remaining in third. Your kickoff coming up on the other side of this timeout on Parkland Sports Live.
Hey kids, let's go to the Catfish Kettle. Yeah! Everyone's favorite is the Catfish Kettle. It's been a landmark in Farmington for almost 40 years. Get the famous all-you-can-eat catfish, chicken, shrimp, and homemade sides served family style for lunch or dinner. Or enjoy tilapia, crab cakes, fish tacos, frog legs, or even gator tail. All ready for you for lunch or dinner at the Catfish Kettle. Located at Karsh and Maple Valley at the entrance to Farmington. See the full menu at catfishkettlerestaurant.com.
Well, Farmington successful on the point after try. That puts them at 31, 8:38 remaining here in the third. The Zoners once again on the field to kick this one off for Farmington. Knights looking to go to 2-1 inside of the SEMO North. And I'll take a look at the SEMO North standings here coming up as well. Just a few games into it. Last time Farmington kicked it, they tried to kind of kick it in that middle territory. This time, Zoder will go ahead and hammer it long, and he scoots the return team back to the 3-yard line. And a flag in the play. We'll let them sort this one out. And Jake, let's take a look at the drive summary. Farmington gets the most points on that drive that they've gotten the entire game. They got 7.
And, it was the second time in this game that they've had a 3-play drive. In the first half, they had one go for 3 plays, 33 yards. This one's very similar. Only took a minute 29 off the clock, 51 yards, 3 plays. Brett Dry capped it off with a 39-yard rushing touchdown.
A couple of big plays for Farmington tonight. McLean went in from 50 yards earlier. That was his first touchdown run. Brett Dry goes for 40 on that last carry. And on the outside of all of those, just good chunk yardage, mostly by Cason McLean in this ball game. He's got 157 yards rushing on 16 carries in the ball game tonight, as we thank a few of our sponsors like BetterHelp.com/The Barn and Nuvo Athletic representative Tia Cunningham. Congratulations to Madison Mills.
Yes, homecoming queen.
Homecoming queen.
Big deal in the monsoon.
Yes, braved the elements. 31-0. Farmington leading here. And some of the scores that we saw there at the half: Festus leading Hillsborough 7-0. Windsor over DeSoto 16-12 at the half. And they're going to redo the kickoff. Why not? That's kind of the trend we're on right now. Fredericktown leading Potosi at the half, 6-0. They get the Whitener bump this week.
Hopefully.
We'll see if that pays off. Central leading St. Genevieve 18-6, and then it's Valley all over Caruthersville 30-0. Next week on Parkland Sports Live, we will be at Central as Potosi makes the trip to Park Hills. And then week number 7, Windsor at North County. We'll be at North County a couple of weeks. Windsor at North County, October 11th. St. Clair at North County, October 18th. And we'll wind up the regular season the way you should. Farmington and Central. I always like that game. I think that's a fun game.
I think there's enough. Dating back to 2012-ish, I think, is when that whole thing started again. It's one of those deals where you got some blood in there.
Yeah. They did take quite a few years off after Farmington left the MAAA, and the schedules kind of got juggled.
You kind of needed to, though, if you're Coach Schweiss, because you were getting to the years of actually getting the program embedded. And Chad, I'm going to come to you, and Mike, maybe you know. So we had a kickoff. We had a personal foul ripping the helmet off. How are we restarting the kickoff?
And it's only a 5-yard difference, too. So, Jake, you got me. This one's bouncing around, and after all that, they'll start at the 25.
Yeah, the answer doesn't do any good to have a third man in the crew, and the answer is I don't know. Because I don't.
There's no rhyme or reason by rules of fouls that should have been a replay of the down, because it should have been a 15-yard off the face mask.
They offset him.
Makes sense. Jeff Lawson in the box for our fourth man, having to dictate the flags.
I missed the offset.
I did not see that either. I only saw the face mask or the helmet.
Holcomb's back out there at the running back. Pierce Baker, junior quarterback, 6 foot, 175 pounds. Last week he threw for nearly 200 yards. He was 15 out of 23 for 199. And he'll give it to that running back, Holcomb, right there. Holcomb got a little bit of surge over the left side that time. Picked up 5 yards. For Holcomb tonight, that is his second longest carry. He's had carries of 2-0-0, 3-6-0-3, and now 5.
I wouldn't be surprised here on this, watching that, knowing that he had a big run. There was a great space difference over here on this sideline. It was one-on-one with Connor Rice, and Baker decides to pull this ball.
Well, they'll stick with the quarterback this time, and he'll just pop it free, and now it's a foot race as he's on the run down the left sideline and finally tracked down at the 28-yard line by Connor Rice. Well done by Connor Rice on a gain of 42 yards.
That's a gain of 43.
And Sikeston's been waiting on that the entire night. They have not differed going left, left, left. They have not tried to come right unless it's a bounce play. And the offensive line of Sikeston finally gets a little spark to find that gap for Baker.
Sikeston had not had a double-digit play until that point, and they go for 42 right there.
Well, there's so much talk about chunk plays these days. You got to have those, and that's the first time they've had one.
Farmington trying to wrap him up at the line of scrimmage right here, but he dances around one tackle and falls forward for 2 or 3. Guess they call them explosives now, right? Is that when did we start using the term explosives, Coach Widener?
Well, I think that was about the Tony Franklin system of the spread offense that came out of nowhere.
A 2-yard gain right there for Baker. Baker with 10 carries and 66 yards. All of a sudden, he's up to like a 6.6 average now.
So that's why you got to be careful with those averages because one big play can kind of tilt those a little bit.
Here's a run up the gut, and Holcomb has turned right back around. But everybody wants a guy on their team, though, Mike. If you give him the ball, sooner or later it's coming. That's like I always felt like Royce Harris. Just keep giving him the ball because eventually he's gone.
And how many nights did you watch exactly that? 8 carries, 9 carries, 12 carries for 41. And then all of a sudden, 15 carries for 101 because he went 60. And he had that threat and that ability to do that. You kind of grind down and wear down the defenses.
3rd and 7 for Sikeston, and they're in 4-down territory here. They're just inside of the Farmington 25-yard line. And now they want to throw the football, and this is an out route that's thrown short.
That ball was thrown at the feet.
And good rush right there by Farmington. Didn't quite get to the quarterback in time, but certainly he felt the pressure of Isaac Owens right there.
Well, and the best thing possible was that was an incomplete pass because there was nothing out there to hit to. I mean, there was no threat. Nobody was turning that up the sideline because that ball was going nowhere.
If he threw the ball where you were thinking about throwing it, it would have been a touchdown, but the wrong end.
Exactly.
It was going back the other way.
It was going 70-plus again.
It's the second pick six of the night. If you put it where you were intended, as soon as I saw it going at the receiver's feet, I thought that's actually the best place for that ball to go.
And as you watch the shots of Wyatt Cawley, Micah, I think you did a good job of coming inside here in the second half. Here's a man that's wide open down the middle of the field, and Sikeston gets into the end zone for the first time tonight as Pierce Baker put it right on the button of Kean Atkins for the touchdown from 26 yards out. Well, if you combine a blown coverage with a pinpoint pass, that's the result right there.
And that's the one thing, knowing Coach Creepy well enough, knowing his defense, that's the one thing he has preached to his guy, no big play. Nothing over the top, keep it in front, because if they get a first down, we've got more downs to play defense. You let them behind. I don't think in that moment, though, you're expecting a pass downfield.
The 3rd completion for Baker tonight, but he's got 2 touchdowns, 1 to each team. Tinsley from 73 yards on the pick 6, and then right there the touchdown for Sikeston as the extra point is blocked. The play is dead, and a kickoff coming up. 6:07 remaining in the 3rd. 31-6. It's still all Farmington, but a little life out of Sikeston right there. We're back on the other side of this timeout on Parkland Sports Live.
With a history woven into the very fiber of our area, Cozine Memorial Chapel and Crematory is not only the oldest funeral home in the Parkland, but one of the oldest in the state. Cozine Memorial Chapel is more than just a place to pay our respects to those who have left us. It's where we find peace, surrounded by loved ones and friends from our community. Find out more about pre-need options and all the services offered at CozineFuneralHome.com or call 573-756-4541. Cozine Memorial Chapel and Crematory, established in 1864.
Well, Sikeston gets into the end zone for the first time tonight. 31-6 the score, 6:07 remaining in the third. We'd like to thank Spokes Pub and Grill for rolling good times in Farmington, Matt Stroud Excavating in Farmington, and Ryan Blankenship Insurance Agency, RBIBrokerage.com. So Sikeston going to kick this one off. And you wonder if Sikeston, Mike, feels like Farmington felt last week. Well, we can't stop them. We need to pick up extra possessions here or there. But they're not really in it like Farmington was in it last week against Jackson.
But if you're going to take a shot at it, that's the time you might do it. But I don't see that as something that they would consider, given what the score says it is on the board.
They'll go deep here. Farmington will scoop it up at the 15-yard line. Knights looking for a middle return now. And the Knights coming back with Bryson Logan, and a very nice return reading the defense right there, as the Knights will have it 1st and 10 at their own 44. Well, Jake, we get our first touchdown drive recap for Sikeston tonight.
No, they did a great job. I mean, they marched the field. They went 65 plays on, 6 plays, 65 yards with a 25-yard pass and catch from Baker. And, you know, we just talked about it was 4th and 7. You know, you got to keep it in front of you, but great job by Sikeston to march the field.
Well, the Knights' offense really has only been stopped by their own negative plays tonight. The Sikeston defense has not come up with an answer for them. And Brett Dry gets it on the second level of that option, fakes it, runs it outside, a 1st down and more, but a flag 9 yards from the line of scrimmage, where you'll usually get a bad block. Well, Dry was looking for a gain of 22 yards on the play. But as he was about halfway into that, the flag came flying, and this will set Farmington behind the sticks here.
Jake, I'm not sure who that flag was on across the side of the field, but I've got to ask you from a coach perspective, because I watch it at the college and pro level all the time. How hard is it to get those receivers who are on the edge to engage, but also know when it's okay to let the play go and not risk the hold? Because it's so obvious to see once you get out there on the edge.
And that's the hardest thing, because you're not in that free blocking zone. Everything is seen from the sideline. Everything from the booth is seen. So that is the hardest thing, and that's just a coaching point.
Farmington gets to the third level, or their option for the first time. It's McCarthy up the field. Great block, and McCarthy's got a 1st down and more as he dances along that left sideline and rips off a 17-yard gain. He came from that opposite wingback position, Jake. There's a lot of variety, and you think about they haven't thrown the ball at all night long. But still a lot of variety in that running game.
Well, and that's a very unique triple option play, because when the opposite wing comes in motion, you still have the play side wing to be a lead blocker to the outside. So not only now do you have all 3 facets, you also have a lead blocker outside.
And that was Rice. Now they'll go with just straight sweep to McCarthy. McCarthy goes through 1 man, now 2, cuts back on a 3rd and dives for the 20-yard line on a gain of 18 yards. Whew. Do we talk about the fact he's just a sophomore?
Well, what was that word he said earlier? Explosive?
Explosive?
I think he may be the explosive player.
Wow. 5 carries for him and 60 yards. Mike, we saw Farmington almost have 3 guys go over 100 last week.
And that's where you know that you've got that depth and balance that you have, that you can throw at teams, and they can do that here.
McLean off tackle right side. Slams his way forward again, and another good run by McLean. That's 7 yards for him. He's at 164 yards rushing tonight. And as you think about maybe getting multiple guys into triple digits, McCarthy's at 60 after 5 carries, and Brett Dry is kind of on pace with 49 yards on 5 carries. So
last week was remarkable. I mean, the game was a different game. The speed, the pace that Jackson played at, you had so many more snaps. But, yeah, that was a remarkable offensive game to watch.
Dry puts Rice in motion, and McLean is bottled up at the line of scrimmage for a change. You know, last week was the first game Farmington has had, and it's kind of weird to think about because they gave up 49 points. First time they outgained somebody.
And that would make sense looking at the games that they played going into it, what the scores were, and how. And they started slow. The first week we saw them, I mean, we knew they had to be better and they had to get better, and they have 100% done that.
3rd and 3 for the Knights. McLean fullback. You've got McCarthy, left wing back. Dry pulls it, cuts it. He's to the 10, cuts it again to the 5, and dances into the end zone. 3 cutbacks for Brett Dry, and 12 yards later, it's 6 more points. That was a dandy.
And again, that him and Case and both, they're so elusive out of the backfield once the ball's in the hand. You don't know exactly where they're going to go. They make you wrong as a defensive tackler trying to be in the right spot at the right time to wrap them up.
So Dry, yes, did run it earlier, but his carry was nullified by a penalty. That means the last 2 carries for Brett Dry have gone for touchdowns.
A lot of players to worry about if you're playing defense against Farmington, and a lot of different plays and ways that they run the plays. It's a tough team to defend.
Can Zoner put the extra point through? He can. And the Knights lead 38-6. 4 minutes remaining in the third. Your kickoff coming up next on Parkland Sports Live.
Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College is ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs are all about getting to work and making things happen. Whether you thrive on fixing, building, or just plain problem solving, they've got a pathway for you. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. You'll gain the practical skills and real-world experience needed to thrive in today's job market. Take the first step to a fulfilling career in a Mac Tech program. Apply today at mineralarea.edu.
Knights on top, 38-6, 4 minutes remaining here in the third quarter. Knights will kick it away again. We'll get that drive recap from Jake coming up. With Farmington giving up that touchdown to Sikeston. If not for that, we would have a running clock right now.
We would.
Got a nice running game by the Knights. And we'll be looking for a Mineral Area College and Mac Tech player of the game toward the end of this one. Got a lot of really nice candidates for the Knights, both on offense and defense tonight. And you know what? Skill positions and linemen all have done an admirable job as Zoner hammers this one into the end zone. Then it'll be a touchback. And how about another touchdown drive recap, Mr. Whitener?
Well, Chad, you won't believe this. That was the second longest time consumption scoring drive of 2 minutes on the night.
Okay.
Took 2 minutes to get in. Six plays again, 56 yards, 12 yards. Brett Dry runs it in.
It's a pretty good 2 minute offense. Usually those 2 minute offenses are through the air.
So what are we, the greatest show on turf years?
That's
I
where
remember
we're
those years of covering that team. It was mind-boggling. At the end of the day, they had 5-6 touchdowns, and you looked at the drive chart, and it's like, well, the longest drive was 2 minutes and 44 seconds, and everybody's like, well, they struggle in time of possession. It's like they don't care.
Doesn't matter when you're scoring that much that quick.
Baker gives it off to his running back Holcomb, and he's met in the hole by McCarthy, who turns him right around and heads him the other way. A gain of 3 yards there by Holcomb. Holcomb with 10 carries. He's got 22 yards. So for Sikeston today, 3 of 5 through the air, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. But they did hit the big play earlier, the 26-yarder for a score. 2 wides to the right, 1 man off to the left side. Holcomb off the right left hip of Baker. Baker going to run the straight QB power to the left side, and nothing but black shirts in the backfield, hauling him down for a loss. I like the way Isaac Owens moves around. We talked about McCarthy as a sophomore. Isaac Owens, 6'2", 220. But a defensive lineman that is getting to the perimeter there.
And he's a very athletic 220. You should see the kid on the wrestling mat be able to move, swivel hips. He understands pressure, which really helps being a defensive lineman, understanding the pressure of an offensive lineman coming up and trying to maintain blocks.
63 yards rushing for Baker. This puts Sikeston into a 3rd and long with just about 2.5 minutes remaining here in the third quarter. And Baker's back to pass, throws it on a go route down the right sideline and completes it. What a catch on the correction by Keon Atkins. Turned, leaned, falling, catches it. Good job by Atkins on the gain of 18 there.
He's having a couple of really nice passes going the direction that I would think you're not going to have any success trying to throw the ball. You had the touchdown throw over the middle. That one, just a great adjustment, too, by the receiver, recognizing what the play was. And as a defender, there's a time you do want to turn around and find ball, but if you turn around and the ball's not coming, they run by you. So I don't think that was defended that poorly. I think he made a great adjustment.
No, you're right. I mean, that was hard because it was almost like you would see at the collegiate level. That was a back shoulder throw. I'm not sure it was intended to be a back shoulder throw, but so if you're Tatum, you feel the hip, you see the hip. The only other thing you can do is to look to find the ball, like you said, Mike, but as soon as you look, he's on your back shoulder, which is a bad, worst-case scenario.
And whether he intended it or not, he at least found a one-on-one matchup.
Correct. And, he was waiting. You could tell he wanted that wheel route coming off the number 2, the slot. But at the same point, it was poised enough. He had enough time from the offensive line, which is one of the first times. The touchdown, he had time, but it was 4th and 7. Everybody was sucked up so tight. All he had to do was just lob it into the end zone.
So, first down for Sikeston, and they work with it at their own 42-yard line on that pass completion. And they'll deploy one wide receiver to the right. Or one to the left, I beg your pardon, and 2 off to the right side. They've got a lead blocker on the left side of that formation as the officials whistle for another timeout. And now they say we can play some ball. Clock ticks down in the third quarter at 1:55 and rolling, and a 38-6 lead for Farmington. Baker, the quarterback, keeps it. Met after a 1-yard gain, and the pile pushed backwards, and once again we see Isaac Owens in the middle of that whole thing, and then Colin Winch is there as well. Colin Winch, one of the strong men of the line, 6'1", 195 pounds.
And that's something that you've got an offensive standout who's also a defensive player in McCarthy to look forward to once Kaysen moves on after this year, but then you also have something to look forward to off of a sophomore defensive lineman that's able to hold his own in the SEMO North Division.
2nd and 9, and here's a slant route that's jumped by Zoner, and he slaps it away. Good timing that time by Zoner as the ball arrived just prior to him connecting with that wide receiver.
How about the poise, though, of this quarterback to be able to know that you're down the scores that you're down, and to have the patience to sit in the pocket to try to deliver some balls. I mean, it looks like the rain's held up a little bit. It may be drizzling a little bit, but the wind, he's throwing into the wind, as Mike alluded to earlier. The hardest way to throw the ball in the 30-mile-an-hour gust, and you're putting it on point.
And here he goes with the play-action fake and trying to navigate his way out of trouble. Can't do it. That's Chase Buchanan, aptly named, as he tracked him down and dumped him for the sack. Under a minute to go here in the third, and it'll bring up a 4th and long here for Sikeston.
And it may not seem like a lot there, guys, but I was impressed that he didn't try to do more than what you can on that play. That play's done. You take the sack. I've seen a lot of quarterbacks, though, get in a panic. We're down. Just throw the ball, and even worse things happen. I like that he made the right decision.
Could have been 6 the other way, like you were saying. You bet.
Punter is Gadberry, the returners are Tinsley and Logan.
So Gadberry back to punt. And Farmington setting up a pair of return men right here. Good snap, straight into his hands. A line drive kick, though, as it rolls across the 50, takes the Sikeston hop. And Farmington will have it at the own 41. One more possession of first-team offense, you think, guys? Or what are you looking at here?
You start. I mean, you may have a couple of first-team guys still in there, but I honestly think you maybe go these 17 seconds first crew, and then as you get into the top of the fourth quarter here, you maybe put in your next up juniors.
And the reason that Jake said 17 seconds remaining in the third quarter, he didn't just pull that one out of thin air.
No, I really think you should only play 17 more seconds.
I thought maybe he just had some kind of philosophy that he always used, and he timed it out and went, well, we got 17 more seconds with the group out here.
Split backfield with McLean and McCarthy. McCarthy gets it, stumbles over his own lineman, and still gains 3 yards. He had a hole there, too.
He may have been gone. I'm pretty sure. I think he and Brett may have tiptoed each other on that mesh point, but I really think he may have been down that sideline.
We're at the end of the third quarter, and Farmington will go to the fourth with a 38-6 lead on this homecoming evening at Hale Memorial Stadium. We'll tell you about on the other side of this timeout on Parkland Sports Live.
The Department of Mental Health for the state of Missouri is seeking an advanced practice nurse to fill a position on their East-Southeast Regional Forensics mobile team. This position includes daytime travel, a flexible work schedule with remote work options available, at a salary of $130,000 annually, and tremendous benefits. This opening will not last long. To apply for the advanced practice nurse position or any other with the Department of Mental Health, please call 573-218-6800 or go to dmh.mo.gov. The state of Missouri is an equal opportunity employer. We celebrate diversity and are committed to creating an inclusive environment for all employees.
We've arrived at the fourth quarter here at Hale Memorial Stadium, and Farmington looking for a victory tonight on homecoming night to push them to 3-2 on the season. They've got it with a 2nd and 7, and they give us to McCarthy over the left side. McCarthy breaks 2 tackles and nearly busts a third for big yardage. It's a gain of 20 yards for McCarthy on the carry. First down. That's the hole that looked like it was there 2 plays ago, right?
Well, I think it's going to be there here, but it wouldn't surprise me if they pull it, and this is the flip to McLean off of this one.
It's that split backfield. I like this arrangement with McCarthy and McLean here. And then you've got Dry. Essentially, you've got 3 running backs all in the backfield because Dry's a running back even though he plays quarterback. And McLean stumbles forward for a yard here.
That's really
it's easy. It's easy for us to want to just watch the ball and where the ball goes. How many different blocking schemes is Farmington using?
Well, right now for this, you could probably use 3 different because you have the inside mesh point, which they keep tripping themselves up on this. You have the outside mesh if you want to get to the second level, but you also have counter off this cross buck formation. When you have split backs like that, anything, there's nowhere on the field that's safe.
Here's McLean. He pulls it out of his belly, and oh, mercy. Brett Dry had a lot of turf to run down, but this one's blown dead.
And what's crazy, Mike, when you ask that is every single setup by formation, when you have a run-heavy offense like this, there's one change, one block that dictates whether it's inside run, outside run, or counter coming off of it because it all looks identical.
And is that decision of players on field, or is that a set call usually?
That's just a conversation to know, hey, last time he's in this gap. Every time we go this formation, he's outside. We run counter, it's off to the races.
Trips to the left. McLean the single setback. McCarthy the motion man. Dry will get it to McCarthy. McCarthy breaks outside, puts on a burst, dancing down the sidelines. That'll be a first down and more on a gain of 15 yards. McCarthy's he's just got something that normal people don't.
Well, and you look at his knee drive, though. I mean, he's a track athlete. You can tell by his knee drive, the way he picks it up. What normally, we always had this conversation in a 10-yard sprint. If you can find a guy that puts his feet down 3 times, 3 strides, 10 yards, you got a fast guy. Watching him gallop down the sideline, he almost hit a 5-yard stride there when he was tiptoeing the sideline.
The give is to
Josh McCarthy. It will be
McCarthy, and he bolts into the end zone from the right side this time. It's a 16-yard touchdown for McCarthy, and we now have 2 100-yard rushers for the Knights.
And does it make a difference that you've got one guy who's running up his 100 in the first half, doesn't have to do much in the second half, then you switch? So I'm guessing defensively you're going to be keying on the guy who ran for 130 in the first half, and he's not even a major focal point of the offense in the second half.
No, I mean, you have to have your defense. Like if you're the team up next, if you're Union, you're looking at this, how do we stop inside and outside? Because right now, in the quotes of many famous broadcasters, this is a thunder and a lightning attack.
And it's good.
The extra point sails through, and Farmington now getting their special teams right also. 45-6, it's all Knights. 10:38 remaining in the fourth. Your kickoff on the other side of this timeout on Parkland Sports Live.
Hey, it's Mark Tody here, and there's no better place to watch the big game than Spokes Pub and Grill in Farmington. Chris and Dina Spence invite you out to enjoy the great menu and the fun atmosphere that Spokes always provides. For me, I love the burgers. The catfish sandwich is amazing. The pork chops are awesome. They have huge salads, and you should always leave room for dessert when you go to Spokes. Check out their Facebook page to see when your favorite band is performing. And as always, for rolling good times, it's Spokes Pub and Grill right off Highway 67 in Farmington.
45-6, it's all nights tonight on this homecoming football game for Farmington. 10:38 remaining here in the fourth quarter. And the first half belonged to Case and McLean. The second half, it's been Brett Dry and Josh McCarthy who have taken over the offense. And McCarthy now with 113 yards rushing. McLean was above $150 in the first half alone. He sits now at 166. And Brett Dry with a nice average himself. He's got 61 yards rushing on 6 carries. His last 2 tries have both resulted in touchdowns. It's a fair catch by Sikeston. They'll have it at their own 29-yard line. And Jake, tell us about that touchdown drive.
Oh, it didn't take much time off the clock again, and that seems to be the trend with Farmington. 1 minute and 32 seconds, 5 plays, 57 yards total, but cashed in by Josh McCarthy, 16-yard rushing touchdown down the right sideline.
Something we were talking about while we were off there during break, guys, is that, yes, Farmington just has too much firepower tonight for Sikeston, but you like the fact that Sikeston hasn't let up in terms of their fight. You've seen guys still attacking and hitting and playing through the whistle for Sikeston.
Oh, and that's the most important thing. This is first year under a new head coach. You got to make sure you have guys who are going to fight till the end for you.
And Pierce Baker is one of them as he detects a gap, as he drops back and then dives for the first down, 13 yards down the field.
I think that goes back to what Mike asked earlier. We were talking about at halftime, having those guys who are going to fight and grind it, and I think that's exactly what Jim Mays is building here, taking over Sikeston as the first year at the helm for the Bulldogs.
And something else I'm going to keep an eye on with Sikeston is going to be, will they give him time to do what he needs to do? And we've seen some schools do it, some schools not do it.
Baker's under trouble in the backfield. He tries to dance away, and he does from one man, but not the second guy through. And Farmington is able to haul him down by Noah Brewer, the second guy after him. He was trying to run from his life initially from Colin Moon, and then ran right into Brewer.
That's the hard thing right now is you want to throw the ball a little bit. I mean, you're not out of this by as far as efforts, but score-wise you're out, but you still want to try to work these guys and try to see what you can be successful for leading into next week.
Twins to the left and a wide to the right side. You've got a single setback in the backfield there with Baker. Baker looking to throw the ball, and once again he's scrambling. Gets away from 2 Knights. He gets the loss of yardage back and more. A great effort by Baker that time. And where are they going to mark him out? All the way down the field, 27 yards for Baker. Baker now with 89 yards rushing tonight.
Well, given, Jed, what they had at the half as a team, 40 total yards as a team at the half, the second half they have been more effectively moving the ball. It's not going to alter the outcome of the game, but you take those little things whenever you're trying to get your program in shape. You're like, hey, we did these good things, and maybe put another good drive together right here.
He has thrown for a touchdown, to be fair.
A handoff here to Holcomb. Holcomb's up the middle. He delivers a hit and a gain of 7 yards. And Jake, as a coach that, you were a program builder. I mean, what is the balance when you're trying to build a program in terms of pointing out what you did wrong versus pointing out what you did right and trying to reinforce that part of it?
You have to be careful. You got to tiptoe the line on that, because if you get too constructive with what you're trying to do, unless you have a program that truly needs cleaning of house, if that be the situation, you're going to lose some kids, your numbers are going to go down, but you're going to gain the right kids, you're going to keep the right kids. With that being said, though, you do have to be very smart with how you word things in film. You have to build off of the small, tangible items that you see as outcomes. If you're not careful, though, and you do dig too deep into this is what we have to do, and you're not explicit with our goal setting, it can deteriorate your program, which also kind of takes the wind out. They don't see that relationship with coaches. So you have to be extremely careful as a head coach taking over a program like this.
I'm curious, too, and you've been on that side of it. How difficult is it sometimes as a coach to not ask more of the players that maybe they're capable of, because that's going to bring you down too, is like, coach, you're asking me to do this, I'm doing this to the best of my ability, but it's not meeting the standard. Is that difficult sometimes to know, hey, doggone it, that kid is they're doing what they can.
Yeah.
It's just not good enough to compete and win on a Friday night sometimes.
I mean, sometimes you get the competitive blinders. That's what we call it in the coaching world. You see the outcomes you want, you think you have the kid, but you don't realistically understand you are asking too much, which then can break the kid for future years.
Atkins takes it on the end around.
A ball came out initially.
And he gets some positive yardage. A gain of 8 for Atkins right there.
You know, Mike, and that's one of the things I think, especially being a young coach taking over a program that hadn't had a winning season in 12 years, that was one of the things we had to be very careful of, and then also build the program of what we had within the coaches to make sure they all understood what we could and could not do. Even though that wasn't the outcomes we wanted, we had to make sure we were trying to resurrect for the future, not for outcomes that night.
They fake it to Atkins this time, and instead they'll give it up the gut to Holcomb. Sikeston, a little bit more creative, a little bit more variable here.
You know, I think some of that comes with.
And you're obviously not going against the number one
correct,
defense
that's what
right
I was
now,
gonna say,
too.
yeah.
I mean, you've got that, but I don't know if you're Sikeston if you care about that.
No.
It's like, hey, we are moving the ball, we're doing some good things, we've got a little bit of feel good to take home with us.
Yeah, and I think it also comes with it's the fourth quarter. You know, if you give up a late score to these guys, it's not the end of the world if you've got your second stringers in.
Baker looks to toss it. Pretty nice sluggo route that time. It just never developed. But they had the Farmington defender biting, and Will Lape just kind of stumbled out of the break. Otherwise, they'd have been in business on that one.
You know, that's one of the things. You can pick on maybe the second teamers a little bit. They haven't seen a double move yet. They've just coming off. They've seen run, and then you hit them with a double move. That's also coaching points, though, because come Monday, that kid is probably going to be on the field again.
Yeah.
Don't give up the double move.
So it'll be a 3rd and 6 here at the 16-yard line for Sikeston. Sikeston looking on. Well, you know, I thought that they were throwing on the hook route, but then as the ball sailed over, I thought they were throwing on the go route, and it landed right in between.
I'm not sure if anyone knew exactly where that was going. That could be one of those situations of the weather ball. You know, he didn't follow through because he did have a defensive line, and that's one of the hardest things is throwing that hook or the out route. If you don't get your hand up above that bar, you know, coaching with Jeremy McDowell and Matt Haug, they always said a quarterback, no matter the route, the hand's above the helmet, you find that bar and then you snap it. And if you don't get to that snap, it's never going to go where you want on the outside.
So you mean that not everybody should throw it sidearm like Patrick Mahomes? Is that what you're saying?
Here and there, maybe.
Okay, all right. Here's Baker rolling to the right side, fires at the right side, and the pass incomplete. And there's a good example of some of those second-teamers playing cleanly. Bryce Busenbark out there doing a good job. Owen Barron and the Farmington second-teamers hold on defense.
Well, I was going to kind of make a facetious comment, and I'm going to lead to something serious with it. I was going to say you make a pass like that one previous, and it's like, what were you trying to do? And sometimes the answer, I don't know. But how many times are coaches okay with, hey, you made a mistake, but I want you to tell me what you were trying to do?
So that's what I was going to say. Sometimes as a coach, you word it wrong because it's, you did this wrong. Instead, as a coach, it needs to be, what did you see?
Yeah.
Why did you do that? What did you see? And that was one of the things I learned from Matt Haug back in the day in my 2 years at North County. What did you see? Tell me what you saw. What were you trying to accomplish? Instead of, you should do this better. Well, you don't know what he did wrong because you don't know exactly what he was trying to accomplish.
And sometimes if the kid had the right idea, they read the play right, everything was good in their head, the physical execution didn't work. But you can live with that if you know, hey,
you can build.
You knew exactly what you were supposed to be doing there. It didn't happen because you physically didn't execute it.
Yeah, and that's some of the smallest and best things you can work on is when the kid saw it, he read it. Mechanics. Let's work on your mechanics.
A.J. Robbins gets his name read out on a Friday night, backup quarterback. Good to see A.J. in there. Porter Herman in at a running back for Farmington. And we see Coy Fripp out there as well. The Farmington coaches with that second-team offensive said, let's talk it over a little bit here.
Well, and you have to.
You're just going through some basics now, Jake?
Yeah, you need to make sure the small fundamentals, your back's, to your own end zone here. You're inside your 15. You just got to be kind of smart. You're on the 15. You got to be smart with what you're doing. You don't want them to set themselves up for failure here. You want to make sure you clearly understand the play. Let's try to have a little bit of success, ball security, be smart with what we're doing.
Knights will be at Union next week. You cover a lot of elevation when you go to Union, down and up. I drove over there in a monsoon a few years back, and then we had a rain delay or a lightning delay. But the Knights, that was their season opener, and was it 2019 maybe? They got out of there with a victory, though, so that was good news. Here's A.J. Robbins, new quarterback out there. He's going to run the keeper, pulls it from the belly, and gains back some lost yardage. So Robbins in some positive yardage here on a Friday night. 3:24, and the clock continues to count down on this moving clock. 45-6. Knights are going to win this one on this homecoming night. After Union, they're back in conference play against Cape Central, and I think a couple good and fun matchups to close the season. I think Festus will be a good game, and Central is always a good game.
Shotgun look for Robbins, running back to the right. And it's a
snap was fumbled in and out of Robbins' hands, but it looked like a Knight fell on top.
11 play.
And I know last time Mike checked that Festus Hillsborough game was a good one. Festus was leading that ball game 7-0 at the half.
But I mean, rough first
You know, and that's a hard deal for Hillsborough this year. You stacked your schedule as tough as you did when you had Peyton and Preston Brown. You know, you kind of did that a few years ago when you had Austin Romaine.
Jackson
Patterson. I mean, but now it's like you're coming on that tail end of it, and it's like, you know, how beat up are we going to be by the time we get to the midpoint of the season here?
Farmington lining up to punt this one away. This is Zoner. Zoner going to punt it out of his own end zone. 2 minutes and 16 seconds remaining in the fourth. Good snap to Zoner. It's a line drive punt. Goes almost nowhere. Sikeston will pick it up, but then they're immediately buried. It is a net 12-yard punt.
I think that was one that caught Farmington off guard there, you know. They ran past it, they looked back, and Sikeston's just sitting there, and he's like, well, no one's around here. I'm going to pick this thing up. Usually that's a Peter call, get away from that ball. But sometimes those are some of the random plays that you wind up scoring on because nobody knows where the ball's at.
Looking at that out-of-town scoreboard, Rolla 20-17 lead over North County. They're in the fourth quarter of that one. Valley Catholic 37-7 leading Caruthersville. They are in the fourth quarter of that one as well. Central a 26-13 lead over St. Genevieve. They're in the third.
Baker throws complete to Atkins. Probably the best timed route that we've seen all night from him.
I was just going to say that was about a 12-yard out route off the slot. He threw that ball before he was a yard away from his break. I mean, that was beautifully timed.
Atkins, another one of those good young athletes, 5'9", 160-pound junior. He's got a little wiggle to him. Apparently has some nice hands as well. He's the one that caught that 26-yard touchdown earlier.
Minutes ago, fourth quarter, final minute of
So
play.
Baker back in that gun, straight QB keep, and he's wrestled down from behind. That's Isaac Owens.
Will lose a yard or two from the
I don't know if he gained anything there. 89 yards rushing, though, for Baker tonight, and 45 seconds remaining in this one. We'll take a look at some of the numbers. What's the weather doing right? Well, we're gonna an interview with Eric Krupe still up in the air. We'll see.
I think it's possible.
We'll
I think we got weather now that is more conducive to standing on the field and talking to somebody than it was at the half.
Baker is buried. He stands back in that pocket, and Farmington comes with blood in their eyes that time, and they send him down to the ground. That's Joey Bales wrapping him up and putting him down.
That is the last thing you want to see if you're Sikeston trailing big in the fourth quarter late. That's the second time the Holcomb's been
Loss of 10 there for Baker, and now 17 seconds remaining in this one. And whenever the injured player is able to find his footing and make it off, clock will wind, and we'll have time enough for maybe another player. Maybe Sikeston says, let's get in the bus and head south. We'll see.
It may not, in this situation, it may not be worth trying to even run the next play. Just let the clock run. I mean, this is Holcomb, second time being out of this game. Looking at a lower extremity, either knee or ankle on him right now. You know, in that situation, you may just let this clock run.
All right, Mike and Jake. Got to be thinking about our Mineral Area College and Mac Tech player of the game. We've got some good candidates. You think it's an easy one tonight?
Yeah, I do.
I do too.
I mean, there's
a lot of good play,
tremendous effort out of the Farmington backfield, but I think there's one that stands out.
Well, he was a tone setter, right?
I think so.
So maybe the last play. I guess they're going to go ahead and try to run it now. 16-15, counting down. And Baker's back in the shotgun with 10. He's under heavy pressure once again. Fires this one to the end zone. It's incomplete, but with the running clock, that will be the final play of the game. And Baker will end the game on his back. 45-6, the final score. And Farmington wins it and improves to 3-2 on the season. Sikeston falling to 2-3. The Knights will be on the road at Union next week. As for Sikeston, they'll be at home against Poplar Bluff. And we've got your post-game show. We'll take a look at some of the numbers, talk it over, see if we can catch up with Coach Krupe, and we'll do that on the other side of this timeout right here on Parkland Sports Live.
Ready to roll up your sleeves and dive into a hands-on career? Mineral Area College is ready for you. Their Mac Tech industry and technology programs are all about getting to work and making things happen. Whether you thrive on fixing, building, or just plain problem solving, they've got a pathway for you. Welding, HVAC, auto tech, construction, and more. You'll gain the practical skills and real-world experience needed to thrive in today's job market. Take the first step to a fulfilling career in a Mac Tech program. Apply today at mineralarea.edu.
The Department of Mental Health for the state of Missouri is seeking an advanced practice nurse to fill a position on their East-Southeast Regional Forensics mobile team. This position includes daytime travel, a flexible work schedule with remote work options available, at a salary of $130,000 annually, and tremendous benefits. This opening will not last long. To apply for the advanced practice nurse position or any other with the Department of Mental Health, please call 573-218-6800 or go to dmh.mo.gov. The state of Missouri is an equal opportunity employer. We celebrate diversity and are committed to creating an inclusive environment for all employees.
Hey, it's Mark Toady here, and you know there's no better place to watch the big game than Spokes Pub and Grill in Farmington. Chris and Dina Spence invite you out to enjoy the great menu and the fun atmosphere that Spokes always provides. For me, I love the burgers. The catfish sandwich is amazing. The pork chops are awesome. They have huge salads, and you should always leave room for dessert when you go to Spokes. Check out their Facebook page to see when your favorite band is performing. And as always, for rolling good times, it's Spokes Pub and Grill right off Highway 67 in Farmington.
I'm going to throw my hoodie on. What's his number? 26.
We welcome you back on our postgame show right here on Parkland Sports Live. Farmington dominant tonight as they win it over Sikeston, 45-6, their 9th victory in a row over the Bulldogs. Farmington goes for 343 yards tonight. Sikeston goes for 183. Sikeston with 79 on the ground, 122 on the ground, beg your pardon, and 61 through the air. Their leader is their quarterback, Baker, with 79 yards rushing. Farmington gets 166 yards from McLean. Most of that damage done in the first half by McLean as he goes for 157 there. But the Knights have 200-yard rushers as Josh McCarthy tops the century mark, 9 carries and 113. And then Brett Dry effective as well as he goes for 61 yards on only 6 carries, and his final 2 carries were touchdowns. So once again, we saw that three-headed monster of a running attack, and once again the offensive line doing a nice job for the Knights. But Jake, you've got a pretty clear-cut Mineral Area College and Mac Tech player of the game for us.
Well, I think you do, but I think you have to reiterate what you just said. There's a 3-head attack off of Brett Dry, Josh McCarthy, and Casey McLean, but I don't think you get to where you are in this game without what Casey McLean did in the first half, over 150 yards. Pretty sound in my eyes. If you had to look at an offensive player of the game or a player of the game in the weather conditions, Casey McLean is that guy.
Set the table, certainly was so impressive. Now, let's tell you about the guys that made that possible. Keaton Gibbs, Scott Fripp, Corey Crawford, Connor Farrell, and Wyatt McDowell. All the guys that we just explained the numbers that they got. That's why.
Yeah, and you come back and look at some of these guys. Keaton Gibbs moves in when his dad takes the superintendent job. Not a very big dude. got some size to him. But then you look at the Fripp brothers, there's 3 of them on this team that moved in. Corey Crawford's been that standout as a multi-year starter. You get to the right side of the line, some new faces this year, Connor Farrell, Wyatt McDowell, who are not the biggest guys, but a lot of grit that we talked about. Pretty awesome job off that front 5.
You never have to really stray too far in your playbook, although we saw some variety in the second half. 0 passing attempts for Farmington. I don't want to paint a negative picture because it was all positive, but do you want to at least work on your pass? Is there any danger of not working on your passing game because you'll need it later in the season, or is that something you can just handle in practice?
I think that's something you handle in practice.
Yeah.
You've thrown the ball more already this year through 4 games than you have through most of your season last year. I think it's a situation where there was nothing probably positive going to come out of tonight's weather conditions to put you in that situation, because the passing game has been there. I could be wrong. I think 13% of the season has been passing plays for them. So you kind of have to be careful with what you're doing, because you don't want to self-promote injury and harm to your offense tonight by turning the ball over on interceptions or just, in fact, stopping the clock. Given the weather, I'm pretty sure Coach Krupe's mindset was run the play, run the clock, maintain the clock, get out of Dodge.
As Coach Krupe finishes up his discussion with the team, Mike Reeves is on the field, and we hope to have a discussion with a victorious and probably soaked head coach, but happy, right? It's one of those good
you
ones.
have to be happy after this. I mean, given the conditions you came into, homecoming especially, because homecoming's always a distraction week, except for there was no parade today, to cut back on that. So
Mike Reeves down on the field with Coach Krupe. They're going to set up shop at about the 50-yard line so we can get you a little video of their discussion as well. And Coach Krupe's team improves now to 3-2 on the season.
Eric Krupe, we'll just start making it real easy at the beginning of this. When you get the win tonight, what did you think of your group, the way you played, the way you executed, in not very good conditions, to be honest?
No, it's I don't know the last time we had these types of conditions, but the fact of the matter is Sikeston was in it too, and if you go down the road, St. John and Park Hills are in the same thing, and Rowell, North County, and the like. So you got to be able to overcome those things. And obviously in the first half we let a couple scoring opportunities go away because of the wet football, and we just got to make sure that we clean those things up. But we did what we needed to do ultimately, and that's come away with a victory. And kids played hard. I think kids were a more physical team tonight, and that's something that I always want to be able to say for our program, is that we were the more physical team when it was all said and done, and I think we did that. And now we just move forward to the next game.
Did the weather alter anything you wanted to do or tried to do tonight, or were you going to be able to do kind of what the Knights do regardless of weather situations?
Well, we probably would have put the ball in the air more had the weather conditions not been like they were. Obviously we're a run dominated team, and our passing game comes off of that run game, but we didn't feel like we needed to do that tonight and put ourselves in adverse positions. We were moving the ball effectively on the ground, and we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot or give Sikeston something because of the conditions and us just not being able to operate properly in the pass game. So we would have passed more, obviously, had the weather not been the way it was, but we were successful on the ground. Some of the special teams things that you do, you might alter because of it, with the wind. If you're kicking into it, you've got one concept. If you're kicking with it, you've got another concept. So, there were some things that you had to adjust to.
In terms of your offensive, defensive lines, we'll look at both sides of it. Are you playing as well as it looks like to a novice who's just trying to kind of follow you? Because you're doing a lot up front that I like.
I think we're getting better. We were week 1 against North County up front and both sides of the line of scrimmage. No, we're better. There's no doubt about that. So we are definitely taking steps forward, and that's what you want to be able to do. Obviously, you don't want to regress. Staying the same is almost like regressing. So we are definitely getting better up front, and we knew coming into the season that's where the least of our experience lied. Our experience was more in the back end of things, and I think these kids are getting, as they get more experience and they get their feet underneath them, they feel what varsity football on a Friday night feels like. I think we are improving on both sides, and we got to keep improving, because obviously with Cape Central coming up in a couple weeks, and you got your Festus's and Park Hills in the playoffs, we need to continue to keep getting better, and just keep working hard and pushing forward.
Wrap it up with this. How much are you and your coaching staff enjoying that offensively? There are so many things you can do as a varied offense. It may be the same general idea, but you got the 2 or 3 different people who can execute it. And again, the blocking up front's got to get done. How much is that benefiting you too, that you're not one-dimensional by any stretch, even though it may look like you do some of the basic things?
Well, it's not old school 1990 where, I run the football, so I'm turning around, reverse pivoting, and handing off to the tailback 30 times. It all starts obviously with the dive in case of McLean, but he's done it for 4 years. Everybody knows what Brett Dry is. Then you've got Connor Rice and Josh McCarthy when you get to that next phase of the option. And I know we didn't really throw the ball tonight, but when we do, Tatum Tinsley at tight end, Jack Embry, Ian Zone at receiver. So we've got plenty of weapons to distribute the ball to. So yes, even though like a night like tonight where we ran the football and we didn't put it in the air, the football was spread around to multiple people.
Look forward to seeing you down the road. Congrats on a good one tonight.
Great, thank you very much.
Guys, back up to you.
All right, great job by Mike Reeves. Thanks to Eric Krupe for talking to us. And not a lot to nitpick tonight, Jake, for the Knights. Maybe special teams that they're not super clean on their extra points. Broadcasters like to joke sometimes. Now he's got a coaching point. Now he has something to get after the team. In a blowout. He'll be able to. Is that true, or is that just stuff that we kind of make up sometimes?
I mean, sometimes there's truth and validity to it. Sometimes is the commentary, you're like, what are we thinking here? What are we doing? But no, not like tonight. You kind of have to nitpick at some stuff to make it happen. The weather conditions are going to mess with your special teams. Obviously, you watch the team go 100% on all play calls being run. You have to do what the weather's giving you tonight. So no, there's nothing to go off of with Farmington. They did what they had to do and they took care of business.
We talked about some of those numbers offensively, but the defense stood up tonight, holding Sikeston to only 40 first half yards. And then after Farmington scores their first touchdown, what do you do defensively on that next drive? Can you shut the door? Well, it was a 73-yard pick six by Tatum Tinsley. I thought that was a big play in the game.
That probably was the play in the game. I mean, they did a great job controlling the clock. Every time that Farmington scored, it was less than 2 minutes and 30 seconds off the clock, which is not what Eric Krupe's going for. But how do you tell your kids to slow down? How do you tell them not to see the end zone? Because in a game like this, it's not one that you want to milk the clock the whole time. You want to keep the clock running as much as you can to get to that turbo in this situation. And it does unfortunately come with a little salt in an open wound with Jim Mays and his program, what he's trying to do at Sikeston and resurrect it. But I'd be willing to bet you if Sikeston community gives that guy enough time, you're going to see a turnover here at Sikeston with what they're able to produce.
Great job by our team up here in the booth as well. Mike Reeves getting soaking wet in the first half. We appreciate him taking one for the team and getting that post-game interview, of course, with Eric Krupe. Jacob Towers kept us online all night long, and the great shots by Wyatt Cawley as our cameraman tonight. We will be back at it next week, Potosi at Central on Parkland Sports Live, and so we invite you to tune in and log on for that 1 week from tonight, as we'll be in Park Hills. So great job by our group. Great job by the Knights. Homecoming win, 45-6 over Sikeston. For my crew, I'm Chad Speaker, and I hope your home team did well tonight.